EOS Go presents EOS Radio, your first source for everything about the new blockchain Internet of Value. You'll hear from key contributors to EOS, including interviews with block.one, Dapp development teams, and block producers. You'll get community updates and answers to common questions, meetup information, opportunities to get involved in EOS, and much more. We're live every Monday at 6 p.m. EST, and now it's time for your hosts, Kev and Blue Jays, in 3, 2, 1.
Whoa, welcome everybody. It's April 30th, almost in May. What's in May? Probably a whole bunch of getting ready for the launch. Yep, that's it guys. We're almost there. How you doing, Kev? What are you excited for this launch, dude?
Wait, what are we launching? Is there like a truck that we're trying to get going, or
it's a chain, dude.
Launch the chain, the blockchain.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited. Episode 10, EOS Radio.
Yeah,
we are in double digits there, Blue Jays.
Yeah, we didn't think we'd make it past couple, right?
Yeah, maybe 1.5 or so, and then we just give up mid-show. And we're like,
drop the mic.
It's right here. Just yeah, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, dude. What do we got going on today?
So we have a special block producer panel, which is probably what a lot of folks are really excited about, trying to help us decide what to launch. Now, that's going to be coming on 3rd. They'll be the last ones on with Thomas Cox in place of the usual Q&A that's coming up at 7 p.m. around. And then before then, we actually have two very interesting EOS Dapp companies, or should we say app companies. We have DEIP.World, and they're basically like a scientist / researcher DAC, where you're able to the community of scientists and researchers can come together in their fields and allocate grant funds to each other. They can collaborate on research, and also when they publish their research, they can own their findings. Of course, we're going to find out a lot more shortly. Actually, they're coming on first, and then second will be uncloak.io, which many folks have not heard about, but this is a very serious project, and it looks great. We'll be learning a lot about that too. Cool.
Sounds awesome. Throw out the link there, Kev, for those DEIP.World, and we'll get them on. I just wanted to say this BP panel discussion is going to be quite awesome. We've got a good set of teams coming out, a diverse set of teams coming out to discuss a lot of the hot topics, and it's going to be a great discussion. We're planning to do another one of those next week, so we will also have another one next week, and I believe they've already been scheduled who's going to be on there, and we'll let you guys know as soon as they come up. So let's get ready for our guests. Hopefully they join very soon here.
Yep, they're coming on shortly. We're going to call them in here, and I think they're based in Minsk. Do you know where Minsk is?
Europe? Yeah.
Yep, it's actually Belarus. I'm pretty sure it's Europe. Yeah, right below Russia. Let's see if we can get the.
Yep. So, like Kevin said, they're based in Minsk, Russia, 7 hours ahead of us. So they're at 1 a.m. right now, and we've interviewed someone else at 1 a.m. too. I believe it was our first interview with Dan Kalinescu, who was in Romania, and he was, he talked more than us, and it was awesome, dude. It was like I think he thought it was 1 p.m. in the afternoon. I don't know.
He has a lot of coffee late at night. Hey guys.
Welcome.
Hey.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Welcome to the show. Alexei and Alex, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great to meet you guys. So yeah, we'd love to meet you. We were just talking about Minsk a little bit. We'd love to hear about your backgrounds, if you could, please.
Yeah. So we're in Minsk, as I said, and now it's about 1 p.m. So it's
1 p.m. or 1 a.m.
1 a.m. actually.
1 a.m. Yeah, right. 1 a.m. And it's a little bit after midnight. So our background, we are technical guys. Actually, we are blockchain architects, and I've been working with distributed systems for about 8 years already, designing distributed architectures. Alexei as well, and we are co-founders of DEIP, and DEIP is decentralized research platform entirely governed by scientific community. So basically, it's about us. Maybe Alexey, would you like to add something?
Yeah. As Alex said, we are technical guys, and I have been working with Alex, and then we came up to this idea of decentralized research platform. So this is how it is started, and we have done pretty much already. So we want to share what we have.
Yeah, so we want to share not only what we have, but what it will be turned in, because I think it's really important to understand how blockchain could impact our society, and DEIP is one of the things that could impact specific part of our society's knowledge creation process. And it's basically very important for our society because it's how we actually came up with everything what we have around us, all these technologies, autonomous driverless cars and blockchain actually also. Yeah, but the bad thing about science, so science is great, but current science is struggling with current infrastructure. I don't know, are you guys aware about world problems, but basically there are really a lot of problems in science, and most of them can be just, in general, it's about funding, it's about publishing, and about review system. But to not go deeper in all these problems, I'll just explain to let everyone feel what the root of the problem. So, for example, many scientific projects have generated a lot of value for our society, but these studies have returned no profit for their authors. So, like, for example, electricity, and you cannot just undervalue and underestimate the value of it. But because current system is just supporting most applied studies. So if your result of your study can be applied in some commercial project, it's more, there is bigger probability that it will be, how to say, monetized by research. But there are no direct way to monetize scientific knowledge created by research. And this is basically what we're trying to achieve with our platform. We have built completely new economy, crypto economy for the science, which not only allows to monetize scientific knowledge, but also promotes the quality of scientific knowledge created within our platform.
How do you quantify the quality of a scientific knowledge?
Yeah, so we promote quality by incentivization mechanism. We have in our economic model we have two main incentivization tools. It's financial and reputational incentivization. Financial reputation actually provided by our internal cryptocurrency, and by doing a contribution into science within your research, you've got reward in our internal cryptocurrency from emission distribution. And reputational reward is the way how we reflect your expertise contribution within your discipline. And if your research is assessed by scientific community within your discipline, you also earn expertise tokens within your discipline, for example, in chemistry or quantum optics. And the more expertise tokens you have, it's the more expertise contribution you've done to this discipline. And with these expertise tokens, now you can assess other researchers within discipline. And this is somehow reflects your reputation in in your discipline.
Oh, very good. How do grants, institutional grants and government grants for scientific research fit into your model?
Yeah, so we just also trying to solve this tremendous amount of operational cost, which is a part of grant distribution process right now. Because in our world, to distribute 40 billion granting, you have to spend about 10 billions for operational costs. And having this emission distribution model, it actually rewards the research which has a greater value. And the same way we can distribute we can distribute also granting. So if you are a granted agency and want to support some specific discipline, for example, the same quantum optics, you can allocate a grant for example, $10 million for 1 year, and it will be distributed by scientific community automatically. You don't have to watch it, supervise it, anything. It's just zero operational cost for granted agencies.
Wow.
Interesting. So what are your personal backgrounds? Are you a scientist yourself?
Yeah, I'm graduated computer science expert, and I've done a lot of R&D projects during my work in my previous company. And I actually was a head of R&D department, and also during my my years in university, I also participated in some scientific projects. But in our region, it's really hard to do science, especially if you are expert in computer engineering and distributed system, because if you go to science, you can earn just a little part of what you can earn if you do commercial projects by building computer software and building distributed systems. And this is, I think, not fair, because I feel that the value for our society from these projects, which can be done as a scientific project, is much higher comparing to what I've done contributing to some specific commercial project. Because I've been solving specific projects, specific tasks for specific business. And the value of this business is significantly lower anyway, significantly lower than comparing to scientific knowledge I could create if I were doing a science.
Wow. So what is the vision basically going to look like? How are people, so you have this economy that you create and you're trying to incentivize creation of scientific knowledge. What gives value to the token other than that? Like, how can we, and we all want to know too, are you planning to deploy on EOS?
Yeah, sure. So if we are talking about value of our internal token, so it's it's a ticket to participate in this economy, because it's mainly fuel, in financial fuel for the economy. But it's good that you ask it, because there are also a research token. As a research group, you can tokenize any research you are doing, and this is additional tool to attract funding for your project. And this is like a shares of company, but shares of scientific knowledge. But in current model, there is no value in scientific knowledge. It's in a share of scientific knowledge. But in our platform, once you have a share of some research, you will earn a part of emission, which is distributed through a reference model from research which are referenced to your research. So because in our platform, every research have to share some part of reward to all of its references, and depending on the ranking. It reflects this natural mechanism that if you are doing your research, conducting your research, you always based on some knowledge created before you. And this is something that rewards for these people who which research you are based on.
So it's like building blocks. It makes sense too, because like you said, science itself and knowledge in general, it's all building on each other. So that makes perfect sense that it would trickle down like that. It's interesting. I know recently I've become very interested in token economics. I don't know about you, Blue Jays, but I find all this very fascinating.
Yeah, very fascinating.
And Alexei, are you? What about your background? How are you related to the project?
Yeah, actually, I'm a chief architect, and I'm currently leading the blockchain development group and doing all the stuff with the protocol. So that's quite challenging task because we have a very complex protocol actually, because it have to account for many things like expertise and assessment of researchers and a distribution of resources based on these assessments. And regarding assessments, one part that is very important that Alex missed when was describing grant distribution is that our system not only, cuts these expenses, but it also frees granting agencies from doing the work of finding a good research to grant, because all these researches are assessed by experts in their areas. So when you create a grant for some discipline, all researchers are already assessed, and these experts knows and says you which of these researchers deserve more money. So your grant is not only distributed automatically, it will also distributed to a right researchers that have the most potential. And we can be sure that these researchers have more potential because scientific community assessed it. So it is not.
This is really good that you mentioned it, because it's really, really important. If you even want to distribute a manual grant, so you don't want to go with this discipline supplied model, which just automatically distribute a grant, you can also do it much, much easier, because scientific community have already assessed and ranked all active projects right now. You don't need to gather committee of scientists who will assess it and who will provide this ranking, because it's actually in current world it's the most complex part, because you have to gather best scientists in this discipline to assess huge amount of projects, and actually this amount of projects is growing, but scientists don't really want to participate in this bureaucratic process, because it's not really about science, because every time you need to assess a lot of money, you need to distribute a lot of money, you have to assess a lot of projects, and you have to spend a lot of time. And scientists, both scientists who apply to grant and who assess other projects have to spend about half of their potentially productive time, and this is the time which they could better spend to teach students or doing their research.
Awesome.
Okay.
What's next for you guys? Like, what do you have coming up on the horizon? Do you guys have any news about what protocol you're going to be using? Any of those type of things?
Yeah. So in May we are gonna publish. So we are gonna release our beta and start testing it with real users, and just to see how our UI and user experience goes, and how can we tune model distribution, because we also have have people who are working not only for blockchain and user interface. We have people who are working also on mathematical model for emission distribution and expertise token allocation, to make it as much efficient as possible. So to just the target function is to knowledge creation and quality of knowledge creation. And we adjust this function and make it really, really comprehensive.
It sounds smart. So a long beta test on the actual token, or essentially a beta test for the token. How long do you foresee that going on for?
Yeah, we expect it about, I think about 2 months. It will take about 2 months. Yeah, protocol is already done, but we want to be sure that it will go well from the beginning. And it's also really important because our expertise tokens, they are not transferable. You cannot buy it, you cannot sell it. You can just earn it by making a contribution to the science. And because of this, we, as the better we allocate initial supply of these expertise tokens, the better platform will start. So we now attracting scientists from all over the world, from different disciplines, to allocate them expertise tokens in Genesis block, and to make platform run really smoothly and efficiently. So they will be the main drivers of our economic at the beginning.
That's neat. And of course, it'll be a generalized platform for any scientific discipline, right? And
yeah,
yeah,
definitely we will start with lower amount of disciplines, because we will not have, I think, enough. So we have to scale iteratively. But I think the more disciplines will be at the beginning, the bigger chance that the platform will grow exponentially.
Sounds like a smart plan to me. Plan for changes, right? Plan
right,
for
right.
not getting it right the first time, but hopefully iterating. That's great. Well, it sounds like you guys are onto something. And where should people follow? You guys have a great white paper on your site. What else should we know about DEIP as everybody looks forward to the next steps?
Yeah. So I think the next steps for us, it's actually also our token sale. We are trying to make it also, how to say, in a not so, how would say, it's in a rather smart way, because we don't want too many people to pump and dump this token on exchanges, because it's really the whole system will depend on also an external market, because people will earn a reward and distribute grants in this token, and it's better that it will be rather stable. And because of this, we will try to allocate and distribute tokens to really people who are interested in world economy and who are interested in supporting science and investing in science. Because through research tokens, they can also invest like a venture capital to scientific projects and generate income from it. So through this mechanism, they will not, for there it's more profitable, potentially profitable, not to sell our internal cryptocurrency on an exchange. It's more profitable to buy some valuable research tokens and receive revenue, receive an income for many years. Because if, for example, if you bought a token from Einstein, and now you have just a little part of it, but because of a lot of references and a lot of income from all these researchers who are referencing to it, you can earn a lot of money for many years, for hundreds of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they can retire eventually. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to comment. This is such a novel concept, and it's exactly what the blockchain world enables. Science has been sort of one of my, I read science books all the way from high school to university, and I think it's such a great concept, and will benefit everyone in the science world.
Thank you. Yeah, we also think so, and this is exactly why we're working on this project. And I think not only science will benefit from blockchain. There are a lot of industries which are not really doing well within some commercial models, or and because of blockchain, which can provide community-driven models and economic model, community-driven economy, such industries like medicine, education could also really benefit from blockchain.
And I'm also curious, and this might be going back a little bit, but I was curious about how a discipline would get started with, say, for example, marine biology wanted to jump on your platform. How would they get started? Would they just contact you guys and say, hey, we want a section?
Yeah, so there is a mechanism to start a discipline which is branched from root discipline. And for this, you as a researcher, if you are really expert in more deeper disciplines in biology, you have incentivization to make this discipline appear on the platform, because you will start earning expertise token not just in biology but in this genetics, for example. And you mark your research with the transparent genetic tokens. It actually reduces amount of tokens you earn from biology, but if this token gather enough of votes from biology community, it will appear on the platform, and you will be one of the first people who have this genetics token.
That's cool.
So it's also a completely decentralized way to create new expertise and new disciplines, even disciplines that are not present in current time.
Wow, that's neat. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you guys for coming on the show, and especially this late at night. It was a pleasure having you guys on and talking about this. If you want to keep in touch, please keep in touch with us at admin@eosgo.io. We'd love to keep in touch with you guys.
Yeah, we too, and we think you are doing a really great job, and it was really a pleasure to attend your show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Thanks, Alex and Alexi.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Have a good night too. Bye.
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 Wow, that was... I've never heard of a concept like that. I mean...
It blows my mind, dude.
That was neat. I think all of us, or a lot of us at least, when we got into cryptocurrency, we started looking through all those Ethereum blockchain projects. So we wound up reading a lot of token models and so on and so forth. But I hadn't actually stumbled across one that was quite that novel in my mind and interesting. That was cool.
It's a big scope too. I mean, all of science and stuff. I think that they've got a big set of work ahead of them. I'm really looking forward to see what they have in store. But I mean, Kev, can you imagine giving an interview at 1 a.m, man? I mean, that's crazy.
Should we just keep staying on? You want to try for it tonight? 7-hour show, maybe?
Maybe launch day.
Maybe that might work. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got the Uncloak guys coming on very soon. Kev, what can you tell us about these guys?
So Uncloak is the revolutionizing, cybersecurity on the blockchain. So it's about cybersecurity threat management for companies, and they have an interesting program as well. Here he comes, Tayo, I think it is. Tayo. Hey, good evening. He may be on mute right now, as far as I can tell. I think I heard some rustling. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Actually, I need to turn off I've got you on Twitter as well at the same time. So.
Oh, okay.
Let me just.
Hey, Tayo. How do you say your name? Tayo?
Yeah, Tayo.
Tayo. All right.
Yeah, that's it. Let me just see if I can get connected quickly again. I think I've got you on a.
Yeah, you may have to mute the other one.
Right. Okay. 1 second. Okay. No problem. Great stuff. Great. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and link your website in the chat as well. But yeah, the format there, Tayo. We usually do the who, what, where, why, when.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and what about you? What should we know?
Right. So I'm from London. And it's about 11:30 at night at the moment. Listen, but I'm super excited to be online with yourselves. So yeah, I'm a ex-black hat, which is funny. So I started computers when I was 11 years of age. I used to write games for Commodore 64.
Oh yeah.
If you know what a Commodore 64 is, that means you must be around your midlife crisis right now.
I do.
And so with Commodore 64, so basically you should write games for them. And then at the age of 16, I couldn't get a girlfriend. All my brothers were getting girlfriends, and so I started getting to hacking.
Second thing, right? Next best thing.
That's how you do it, you know. So I started getting into hacking, and it started, you know, with simple stuff. I mean, the great thing about, I mean, the word hacking used to have a very good connotation, and the whole idea of hacking was taking a device and changing its use. So the things I used to do was I used to take Walkmans, which were like tape machines. You know, you got iPods nowadays, but back in the days you have Walkmans with tapes in them. And I used to open them up, and I used to resolder them and put a new resistor in there or capacitor in there to change the volume, so guys could like listen to Nirvana when it goes like past 10 on the volume dial. And that was some of the things that we used to do. And then from there, literally started breaking into bits and pieces, and it was also a quest for more knowledge. And also just a way of saying, look, I can do it. You know, no one else can do it. Let me see if I can do it. And that was that quest for information, for understanding information. And then from there, I got in a little bit of trouble. I got called by a consultancy firm, a very large one, a Big Four. And they said, if you don't come and work for us, we'll take you to the police. Oh. And so from that age, I started working for this Big Four consultancy firm, and breaking into companies on behalf of them, into a number of banks, and then getting paid for it, which was good fun.
So you're like one of those guys they make movies about.
Oh, I'm not sure. You know, probably one of those black guys that always get killed at the beginning, you know, so. No, absolutely, but it's not as glamorous as you think. You know, a lot of it is about surveillance. You know, hackers are, you know, the young hackers. They just, you know, we call them script kiddies. They're always trying to find little pieces of code that's floating around the internet and then change it and get to do something. But the more established hackers, I mean, talking about white hat or black hat, if you know the difference between the two, a white hat is someone who's ethical, and then a black hat is someone who's unethical. Okay. Surveillance is very, very important. How much time you spend surveilling that target before you go after it, and that's what the more established guys are into. So, but I'm not condoning it. Not at all.
What about that company Red Hat? What the heck are they doing then? I'm messing with you.
No, I know you're messing with me. You know, the Linux guys are great, but yeah, there you go.
How much of hacking nowadays is protecting, and how much is it actually attacking? Like you said, I know unethical versus unethical.
How much is it? Sorry, could you repeat that question again? Sorry.
Like, how much, in your estimation? I mean, this is hard to quantify, obviously. Yeah. But yeah. How much of it hacking is preventing hacking from happening, and how much of hacking is trying out to do malicious stuff against organizations who are following the rules?
I mean, it's impossible to. I mean, I know it's impossible to quantify, but at the same time, there are, I would say, a factor of, I mean, from 1 to 1,000. There's 1,000 hackers for every person that's doing ethically.
Wow. All right. So unethically. Hackers, okay.
Yeah. Yes. An unethical guy, you're looking at this. There'll be 1,000 guys unethical for every 1,000 guys that do ethically. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you think about some of the largest organizations that you got out there that are, qualified or certified bug bounty organizations. So, companies like the Bug Crowds and Hacker Ones, and some of these organizations, obviously, they might even have 10,000, 20,000 guys working with them that are all working on their books as contractors. But the multitude and the ubiquity of data that's available right now, I mean, there's so much hackers out there that are trying stuff, and everyone wants to call himself a hacker at the end of the day. Everyone's trying to find a way to do something. So I would say that it's something which needs to be tackled with a level of automation. That's one thing that's something that we're trying to stress, obviously, with Uncloaked platform, is to bring a level of automation, artificial intelligence, which we can go into to try and solve some of these real world problems. And if we can automate as much as we can, then we might be able to catch up with some of the hackers that are out there.
Awesome. Well, so we found out about you. Tell us about Uncloak and what it's all about.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been running a cybersecurity firm in the UK for some time now. I've got a great bunch of people around me that I've been working with, not just in the UK but also overseas. So you might have heard of Greg Leffel, do a lot of work with him. He's an absolute brilliant guy. And Brendan Sturm and Nick Banks and Vinny McNeil. These guys are amazing what they do. So I've been doing, cybersecurity. We provide a number of services in the UK, and we got to a point in time where I realized every time it came to cybersecurity is that if you get IT support, you're continually covered. You always got an engineer that's able to come around, keep an eye on what you're doing and how your machines are working, if making sure that your computers and laptops are all in check. But with cybersecurity, it's a completely different art. I mean, with cybersecurity, if there's an issue, if not necessarily a breach, but if you need to get your systems checked, someone will come in, check your systems, but the check is only valid for the day that you're doing the check. Just like an antivirus. If you have antivirus, you do a scan today, but the next day there could be what's known as a 0-day vulnerability or something new that's come out on the internet that your machine wasn't protected for. So this is the same issue with cybersecurity. Oftentimes there's so much people that are consultants that are going out, getting paid great money because they've worked really hard to get to that level. But then literally the scans or the vulnerability checks that they're doing or security checks are only good for the day that they're doing it. And so the whole idea of moving from, I look, as we noticed this has been a massive issues in working with the companies that we worked with. We thought, okay, we've got to try and change the game here. What can we do? And so literally we spent over a year, like literally developing just an elements of systems, like from AI to developing a vulnerability scanner that's able to scan your environment. So, and just tell you where the issues are, because when it comes to cybersecurity, prevention's better than cure. If someone's already got into your network, it's often too late. They might have left something behind, and every system is vulnerable. Anything that's designed by a human has a flaw in it. It's just the way the world is, and if you take in consideration the amount of data that's flying around, I'll give an example. So on a typical, flight, let's say an 8-hour flight, long haul flight, an 8-hour long haul flight may produce up to 500 gigabytes of data. I mean, that's an awful lot of data on one flight in a black box. That's the same amount of data that was traveled across the internet in 1992 in over a period of 2 weeks.
Wow.
So one commercial airline produces the same amount of data in an 8-hour flight that was produced on the whole of the internet over a 2-week period in 1992. And it just shows you how crazy it is, because data is everywhere. The ubiquity of data is everywhere. And if you ask someone, what's the biggest operating system in the world? Most people say Windows or Apple. It's actually Android. So there's so many different hacks that are coming out for Android, for Apple devices, for laptops, PCs. Every operating system there is hack available for it, and it's just about spotting it quick enough and making sure we can help organizations. So
that's interesting. How much bigger is Android?
Android, I mean, being the largest operating system, I mean, they say there's over 1.5 billion Android devices. Wow. And then if you've got to take into consideration things like Internet of Things. So I've got engineers that work with me. I've got some clever guys, and these guys are just absolute geeks. So I've got a guy who's got a smart fridge. I mean, it runs an operating system. So when he's running low on milk or, milk inside there, it will literally say, go to Amazon and say, right, reorder milk. It's just bonkers, and that's a computer in there. So, for example, in the UK, we had a massive hack where someone had managed to take over a whole bunch of Samsung fridges, for example, and basically put a file on the fridge that said, everyone at the same time talk to this internet service provider. And that's known as a denial of service attack. So, most hackers are concerned with two things, either getting access to information or preventing the access to information. So, there was a massive attack in the UK. It took down a massive ISP, which was called TalkTalk in the UK, brought them down due to this massive denial of service attack that was created by IoT devices, from fridges to microwaves, all hitting TalkTalk and saying, hello, please talk to me. And TalkTalk couldn't handle it. The system just went and fell over. And these hacks are becoming more and more prevalent nowadays, denial of service attacks.
Sounds like a PR nightmare. We got taken down by fridges.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to love like Terminator 2 and like thinking about Skynet and stuff like that. But I mean, what's happening right now is crazy. So I mean, it's just about trying to play catch up and make sure we can get one step ahead, and that's our aim at Unclo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Toasters will be coming for you soon.
Absolutely.
When you mentioned that artificial intelligence on the blockchain, can you describe the use case and how that works?
Yeah, so for example, we've been looking at AI for a while, and I know it becomes a bit of a buzzword for a lot of organizations that are trying to raise funds, and We want to make sure we use AI in the right way. But, there's a lot of things you can do with AI in regards to automation, because oftentimes when, you're dealing with like sets of classified data. So one of the things with AI is the ability to classify data. So the way that we intend to use AI, and what we already use in AI in our beta systems, is having a system be able to go out into the public internet and also the private internet and look for particular keywords that are spoken over and over again. And obviously, as an ex-hacker, black hack myself, there's certain words that we used to use in the community, from ransomware, malware, spunk. There's loads of different words that we used to use to describe, a new virus or a new piece of malware or a new hack or vulnerability that could be found. And oftentimes, for example, we have the whole WannaCry, which was an absolute nightmare. But if you think about it, governments, and I'm security cleared myself, so I work with British government in the UK. There are systems that we can create that are able to infiltrate enemy systems. And it's just the way every government under the sun does this. It's create systems or create pieces of software that can infiltrate other pieces of software where, for example, your antivirus won't detect it, for example. Like we used to have what's known as a rootkit. So, for example, with the whole WannaCry, the WannaCry came out of a governmental organization and found its way into the dark web. And once it got into the dark web, someone thought, hold on, let me just do a change on that piece of WannaCry data and make it into a malware that, if it's installed, it would, ask you to click on a link to get the, to get your access to your files back, because all your files are being encrypted. And this is what's happening right now. So right now on the dark web, you've got users and ex-hackers or black hat hackers or malicious guys that are out there that are creating vulnerabilities and selling them. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that, for example, just as people have Reuters and Bloomberg or Associated Foreign Press, like journalists get access to information, if we can get access to information before it hits your business, we're literally quids in, and we are far, literally a few steps ahead of potentially what any other piece of software in the market can do. So our aim really is to use AI to go into the public web, dark web, find words, forums, keywords that are being used, pull that information back and produce a threat landscape report for all the clients that we have on our system. So, and that's basically how we want to use AI. So we've got little things like, we use things like ingest engines and social word disambiguation. In other words, basically we can search for a particular word and it will go across the internet, find that word and pull it back and tell us where it found it. So it's some clever stuff.
And how are you going to be using the blockchain in this setup?
Yeah, I mean, with the blockchain, I mean, EOS is just, one thing I love about EOS is just the fact that, I'm coming from I've seen the cloud, I've seen infrastructure as a service, I've seen private cloud, public cloud, and having EOS come on board and literally just revolutionize how blockchain really should be used is just amazing. So for us, at the end of the day, his aim is to ensure that we can use the blockchain in a way that we can decentralize our application. So for example, for businesses, we will have businesses, obviously, clients all over the world that will be using our vulnerability scanner, for example. So they'll have the scanner that will be scanning their infrastructure and workstations. And if we can decentralize it and put it on the blockchain directly, it gives us so much power where we can scan from so many different nodes around the world. And it would just be absolutely awesome. But the real power for us using the blockchain is the fact that we are having a bug bounty community. So we have a community of hackers that are on there that are a step removed from the client. So obviously the hackers that we have on our system that are registered and vetted are nowhere close to where our end customers are. So it gives us a unique opportunity where hackers can earn cash for finding new vulnerabilities on systems where they have no relationship with the client at all. So working in a secure environment on the blockchain, it will just blow things apart. And also, there's a level of anonymity that obviously individuals want to have, ethical or unethical. There's a certain level of anonymity that they want to have. So having the ability where we are able to find new vulnerabilities and then reward people in real time on the blockchain where it's in a position where you can't. Once it's in a blockchain, it can't be forged and can't be moved. Will really give us a massive step from a credence and credibility perspective, because we could then turn around to a company and the company might say, well, oh no, we saw that, we've seen that vulnerability before, and we say, hold on, where have you seen it? Because we've recorded it in the blockchain and we were the first ones to record it, because here's it's timestamped, it's dated, we know when it was done and when it was recorded, and it will just basically give us a large amount of power there. Another way that we're using the blockchain is for voting rights as well. So we're looking to create an anonymized system. So for example, what I mean by that is that we'll have a set of users that are, or literally combination of hackers that are looking for vulnerabilities, and validators that are on the other side that are testing that vulnerability that's been found is really a vulnerability. Because what we don't want happening on the platform is have a bunch of people saying, oh yeah, we found this new vulnerability, and getting paid for it. So we wouldn't want to make sure that their work is getting checked. And so obviously the hacker that finds it gets the biggest bounty, and the guys that check that hacker's work get a slightly smaller bounty. And that way it allows us to automate the system rather than having loads of moderators and administrators on the system and working. And I think the EOS to me personally, I mean, it's probably the most powerful blockchain that I've come across that's got real world use. Now, I'm not going to mention any other names because I'm not sure about, I don't want to be sued. But, the great thing about EOS compared to a lot of other systems that are supposedly blockchain free, they're very, very scientific. They don't really look at real world uses. And EOS for me, is designed to be a system that is available for everyone, where if you have, a good understanding of C, which has been around for absolute years, you can create some amazing applications on there, And I was chatting to my friend Ennis James from
you know him,
from Scatter, great guy. We're just having a chat, and the EOS 42 guys in the UK, and it's just an amazing time to be alive, And I remember seeing the internet bubble come and go, and so I don't want to miss this one. So this is great timing.
The EOS community certainly comes together and gives each other support. You also have somebody from EOS Nation, Yves LaRose. He's a BP candidate. He says, very interesting concept, Teo. So. Oh,
that's great stuff. All credits due. I'll slip him a couple of tokens later on. But the thing for us really, at the end of the day, I mean, that's one other thing as well, is that you mentioned that word community. That's what's so powerful. I went to Hong Kong. I went out with the block.one guys. I met up with them over there, Serge and other guys, great guys, and Josh Lavin, and I was chatting to Greg Lefel about it, and I was saying, look, when I got there, I was like, it was meant to be a meetup, and to me it was like Disneyland, because a meetup usually have like 100 people or 50 people. They had like 1,000 people in the EOS meetup in Hong Kong. It was absolutely crazy. I was the tallest guy there. I stuck at like a solar farm. It was such a funny time, but it was amazing how engaged they were with EOS. The community is to me, it's that community that's so strong that's going to make this blockchain the most successful blockchain that I see. I don't know if there's any stronger community that I've seen in terms of engaged with what EOS are doing than the EOS community themselves. They're just absolutely amazing bunch of guys.
Yeah, wow. We agree. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, you're flattering us all right now. Everybody watching, I'm sure. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. We love it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. It's amazing, really. I think another thing as well, from just meeting up and seeing what other applications there's competition, but not necessarily competition. Is like, it's that friendly competitiveness that you usually find with sibling rivalry, where everyone's trying to outdo each other a little bit, but we're all in the same thing together. Mm-hmm. And so what's great about this is that, everyone knows that the more dApps or applications that we can put into the EOS is the more powerful it becomes overall. And it's just, I think that what will happen with EOS, it will start to be a lot more readily adopted by, some of the much larger organizations that are out there. Microsoft and Apple will start to realize, hold on, this is the blockchain that we need to put some of our architecture and infrastructure on, and that's when it's going to get really, really interesting.
You mentioned that. What do you foresee, a private chain there?
Well, the issue, I mean, I always say to people, looking after companies from asset management firms to hedge funds and things like that, You know, I always say to them when I'm doing keynote speeches is I always say to, you know, whoever owns the standard makes the money, you know. And the issue that we've got right now is that there's so much organizations that are trying to create, you know, Chinese will say, okay, right, can we create our own little blockchain on the side? What do we do? Can we create a fork of it? Because we want to own it in its entirety. And I think it's just about more of a cultural change. It's not necessarily necessitated around technology. It's about a culture change of understanding what blockchain is really designed for. And that's why a lot of the original guys that created these blockchains, it's all about, okay, right, how do we allow people to jump onto a system that gives people free access to transact intellectual property from one location to another location extremely quickly? What do we do about it? And so the thing for me, I think some of the large organizations realize, hold on, let's not look at the blockchain or EOS as just a commercial benefit. I think they need to realize at the end of the day, let's look at real world uses of what it's actually solving. And so I think what will happen is that out of some of the corporate social responsibility departments, they'll start to say, okay, right, how can we change the world with blockchain? And then that's when things will start to come through and start to be adopted. Because naturally, at the end of the day, you know, success, money, or, you know, profit is a you know, a byproduct of success. So I think this is really about, you know, some of the large corporates jumping on board as quick as they possibly can. They'll find themselves to be extremely successful, and they'll start making money out of it, regardless, like it or not. So, but I think it will take some of the smaller, I'd say, mid-sized organizations that realize that the large businesses have, you know, so much buying power. This will start to remove some of the barriers to entry and allow them to jump on and use this technology properly, and, you know, and just use it properly, not use it like a big database, because that's what really annoys me. There's a lot of blockchain projects that are currently out there, and I'm using inverted commas, that don't need to be in blockchain. They're using it to try and create investment. You know, they'd just be happy to get a MySQL database or NoSQL. That's what they should be using. But blockchain has real world uses, especially EOS.
It's really awesome to see somebody as experienced, a veteran like yourself. I mean, you kind of aged yourself with the Commodore 64 thing, and hey, I'm there with you. So, you know, just to see you coming on board and giving EOS love, I think it's great for the community and for EOS too.
Yeah, you know, I've done my due diligence, looking at, you know, from blockchain version 1 with the transfer of assets with Bitcoin, and blockchain version 2 with Ethereum with smart contracts, and blockchain version 3 applications on a blockchain. You know, what more do you need? And I think it's going to be a real threat to a lot of the cloud organizations like the Amazons and the Googles and the Azures. It's going to make them really take note and say, okay, right, you know, are we actually doing this, you know, doing these businesses for what we intended to set them up for, which was really access to information and giving access to information at a very low price. So I think, you know, with the fact with EOS, I think if with Uncloak, the way that we want to use it is make sure that we can provide, you know, the best way for us to really solve and reduce the amount of hacking in the world is to make sure everyone gets access to it. Okay? Because another thing people find is that, you know, if you look at the scale, everyone thinks, oh, right, some of these applications are so expensive that only the biggest companies can afford them. You know, if we can make Uncloak as you know, as well priced as not necessarily antivirus, but something which is accessible to every single business, SME business, from like 5 members of staff up to 1,000 members of staff and upwards of that, it puts us in an amazing position, because it means that we can have bundles of organization all working off the EOS blockchain, where we're putting in so much data which we can collate, get some real intelligent information, and then we can resolve literally a lot of the hacking issues that are occurring today. So, for example, if Uncloak was used, and but when WannaCry had come out, we would have caught it, and that wouldn't have happened. And that's basically where we are right now.
Awesome, Teo. What's next for Uncloak? What's coming up, and where can we find out more about you? And obviously uncloak.io, but if any other place that we can look up and refer to you.
Yeah, no, so we've got a couple of exciting things. So, you know, obviously we've got our website, uncloak.io. So Uncloak, UNCLOAK.io, main website. We've also obviously got a Telegram page as well, which is uncloak.io. Where Greg will be out with a team. Some of us will be in consensus, so you probably might see us outside hanging around, giving out water or whatever it is we're gonna devise and cook up. So that's gonna be exciting. But no, we're going to be. I mean, literally, just keep us. Check out our Twitter and stuff. Everyone, all our handles like either uncloak.io or uncloak.io. So it'd be great for you to get involved in what we're doing. We are currently in our private sales stage at the moment, and we're getting a lot of love from there. So we got some investments coming on. So that's really encouraging, especially for the team that has worked so hard to get to where we are today. So at the moment, we absolutely, our website is probably the best resource for us.
Okay.
Visit our website, check it out. Feel free to contact me if you just jump onto Telegram or send me an email, and I'm be more than happy to help out and have a chat with yourselves. And ask me any question as well. What's very important, I want people to realize that we're not just business guys, we are tech guys. So any question you've got, if we can't answer it, then we shouldn't be in this business.
Go ahead. I was just going to go into a tech question. Smart contracts, are you guys going to be able to, how are you using those?
Yeah, so we have, one of the questions that comes up quite a lot, especially what you mentioned, because we have there'll be a smart contract which is really for the token raise, and so the smart contract will be based on Ethereum for the token raise itself, but that token will also be allowed to be used on our platform as a form of payment. So it's a pure utility token, but when within our actual EOS framework, that we'll be having our own UCC token is what we actually use to pay the actual hackers, which can then convert their money back into UNC and vice versa. And hopefully part of our roadmap later on is to get to a situation where we're working with amazing wallets that are coming out, where people can obviously keep things natively within the system. But really, we are the token raise is on an Ethereum based raise, but the main system that's running is on an EOS based token. EOS based token. Yes.
Nice. Excuse me. And shout out to Greg as well in Virginia. Yeah. I ran into him. He's actually the one who hooked us up here, and he talked about going up to consensus there in a month, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was 16th to 17th. It's going to be crazy. So having Greg out there is great. He's been an amazing advocate for us, so you've got a lot of love for him, and he's been doing a great job, and a lot of introductions and just making sure we can keep abreast of, our family friends across the pond, the big pond, as they say. But no, it's been a pleasure. So really, I think I'm really happy with the team. The team are really experienced. I'm working with. I've worked with them for many years now, so to do something together is just absolutely fantastic. And obviously, just thank you guys for the actual opportunity to speak on your amazing channel, and just keep it up, keep it going.
Yeah, Teo, I hope I see you somewhere out in the community. It sounds like an awesome guy to talk to in person.
Yeah, I'm sure you can spot me. Just look out for the big smile. You'll find me. And keep an eye on your wallet as well.
Okay.
Just joking.
Vulnerability number one, Teo.
Yeah. This guy's worn all the hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming on. We've really enjoyed it. I know I certainly have, so thank you very much.
Pleasure, guys. Keep it up. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Blue Jays, what are your thoughts? That was great.
Yeah. I think that legitimate dApps like this are going to basically... Yeah, like he said, everything he says, like all of these companies are going to come on, and we have a lot of chatter in the chat going on now about why wouldn't Microsoft just create their own blockchain? And it's they could use EOS.io software and do that. And like Teo said, it is just about who creates the standard, right? And it looks like we got our BP panel discussion people coming on now. First and foremost, we got Alexander Bourget of EOS Canada.
And JT at EOS.World, I believe, right?
That's right.
Well?
Welcome, guys. Yep, Alex, you sound good.
Very good, thanks.
Welcome, guys. Here comes the party. So we have 6 total block producer candidates and Mr. Cox coming on as well.
Woo.
And this should be a fairly open discussion. I think we're going to learn a lot about what the launch may look like and everything else. Guys, here comes the party. So we have 6 total. I think we hear some feedback. Someone's listening to the YouTube channel right now. This should be a fairly open discussion. I think we're going to mute your YouTube channels, please.
My bad.
That's all right. No worries. I like your EOS shirt, by the way.
I actually have my headset and all of that today.
No worries.
You did.
So why don't we go around the horn there, Kev? I guess we got Alexandra. We already introduced from EOS Canada. Who else do we got? JT from EOS.World.
Yep.
In
Hey,
the
guys.
middle, right in the middle. Who do we have? Sean? Lou? Sean?
It's a different layout for each person, so.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have John is looking sideways right now.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, maybe I can.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much better.
We could have all done this the whole show. It would have been pretty fun.
All right, guys, welcome. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, welcome, guys. So this is our first BP panel. We'll probably we're going to start another one next week. So we chose. I guess it was arranged. I don't know how you guys arranged this, but you guys within your groups arranged this, and we're just here to facilitate. And Thomas is here to listen and answer questions. But I guess it's mostly for you guys to go through some of the questions that we brought up earlier on, which is first. I mean, do you want to go through them, Kevin, one by one, and then have everybody answer? What do you guys think, or do you guys want to have a free-flowing discussion here?
I'll get free flow pretty fast, I'm sure. So let's start with structured, right?
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, let's jump to question number one. We'll let you guys all answer and then see where it turns from there, huh? Let's see what we got. Okay, so. Can everybody hear me okay?
We're getting some feedback.
Yeah, if you are not currently speaking, if you can keep your mic on mute, please. That'd be perfect. Let's see here. Okay, so we're looking at the first question. What is your vision for the launch? What do you see specifically? And I guess on my end, I see Alex first right next to me. So I'll ask Alex first, and then we can go to the next person.
So my vision, what I envision, what I think is going to happen on the launch, I think it's going to be like a worldwide event with live streaming. People are going to organize like I remember assisting to the Zcash launch. They had that camera with the folks on their computer. It wasn't very interesting, but something was going on. It was hooking on the TV, like just waiting to see maybe someone is going to say something on the camera, right? So I think we're going to have massive live stream. I think you guys are going to be great at flipping from one channel to the other, maybe putting something up for that. And then like BPs, especially the top ones, are going to be very targeted, and they're going to be very swamped at looking at the media, social media, and it's going to be high profile. And I think we're going to see everyone participating in the launch, sharing their progress everywhere. So it's going to be a massive swamp, right, on social media. And it's going to be very exciting for the community to see that come about. So I think that's going to happen.
Nice. And I think we have John next. Go ahead there, John.
Yes. Yeah, he came at.
Hey, John. Nice to meet you. And
Hey,
what is
John.
your overall vision for the launch that you see happening?
Yeah. I have prepared the answer. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the EOS launch. Its meaning includes in two aspects. First of all, our own org chain project is based on the EOS itself. The main project work of org chain can be done only after EOS launch. Secondly, EOS is a project that I personally participate in, which brought together experts and communities and all over the entire blockchain field. So I'm so looking forward to it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, John. And then see JT.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
JT. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I think communication is going to be key. There's so many communication channels right now, and I feel like we need to kind of narrow it down to one in order for all the block producers to be in sync on this deal. I think that the first election is going to be mass chaos. It's going to be extremely interesting just to see how it's all going to go down. I think that the communication thing is going to be huge though, because the multiple channels, people on Facebook, people on YouTube, people on other social media platforms, Steam posts, and Telegram is just a lot going on at one time, and it's hard to keep up with it all. It's unfortunately for me, I'm going to have like 4 monitors and 6 different communication channels up just to try to catch everything.
Probably in a bunker somewhere, right? For the security.
Yeah, exactly.
We should make sure we introduce everybody as well. So JT, you're from EOS.World, and where are you located?
Yeah, so EOS.World is actually headquartered out of Puerto Rico. The majority of our team is in Puerto Rico. Myself, I'm in Central Texas.
Okay, cool. And of course, Alex, we might as well go back and wait. Alex, I think we know where you're from.
Canada, Montreal.
Yes, great. And John, where are you located?
Sorry, I didn't catch what you say.
We were just going back to introduce quickly where are you located right now? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from China, Beijing.
Okay, from Beijing. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and Eugene, what is your vision for the launch there?
Yes, Eugene, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself, so I'll go quickly. It's EOS Tribe. Basically, we are partner in EOS Salt Lake City and EOS Dallas, but we will be actually, located in Wyoming as the most friendliest state, to crypto currently. And so my vision, I have been in software development, for about 20 years now, and I have launched different systems. And I can only, as a engineer, what I can hope for, and my dream vision is that we have, exciting, but with minimal stress for everyone, very smooth launch with very minimal problems, ideally none, right? And so we'll be up and running in a matter of hours, hopefully. And I think getting all our ducks in a row pre-launch will be important, and I kind of made that statement, I think, on Telegram channels. So yeah, I'm just, I'm hoping for exciting and stress-free launch.
Sounds good to me too. Yeah, and
I'm already stressed, man.
I think we're seeing some of that around, but it's gonna be a great, it's fun and exciting last month, certainly. And when you say ducks in a row, I'm sure you mean security and just making sure that everyone's gone through and we'll mention in a bit about the practice you guys are going through. But is it Lou or Sean?
Yeah, it's Sean.
Hi. What are your thoughts on the vision for the launch, and where are you based out of?
I'm Sean from EOS Go. We are a Chinese team based in Shanghai. I think after whole year's cross-sale and community preheating, all eyes would be fixed on EOS launching on June the 1st. In fact, I love the head of article posted on Medium, introducing launch of EOS by Thomas. I think everyone have already read it. The title is Once Upon a Time, iOS Booting and EOS Blockchain. I believe even many years later, when decentralized autonomous organization becomes an important part of the global economy, just like limited corporations today, we would still get excited on the moment when EOS mainnet go live. Because the EOS blockchain is launched not only by IBM, not only by block.one, but also by the community, by BP candidates, and by all EOS holders. We together launched this project and we create EOS ecosystem. And that is what our team, EOS Eco, would like to devote ourselves into, to make EOS ecosystem diversified and prosperous. That is my vision. Really looking forward to that day. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thank you. Yeah. And of course, Rob, what are your thoughts?
Hey, everyone. I'm Rob Rigo from EOS Detroit, currently reporting from Atlantic, Canada. That's a Newfoundland flag. But so my vision, I think we're going to usher in a new era of the internet on June 2nd or 3rd when the launch happens. And I think it'll go smoothly. There's been a lot of work that guys like Eugene and Alex have been putting into building up great tooling. I think, all the preparation going into this is going to lead us to a smooth launch. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Nice. Yeah. Of course, last but certainly not least, we have Thomas. We read his post. I think your vision for the launch is Dom Perignon. Is that what I read?
among other things. I was listening to everyone else's answers. I'm Thomas Cox, and I'm active on the governance side, and I've been helping folks, organize. I'm not a block producer. I'm not affiliated with any block producers, and I'm trying to feel like what's it going to be like emotionally for me as the launch unfolds. And I realized it's going to be a lot like the birth of my daughter, where it's like a bunch of other professionals are doing very high stakes things under time pressure and whatever, and there might be some screaming, but ultimately I'm utterly useless, and I'm just watching, and maybe I'm scared or maybe I'm excited or whatever, but I'm like, there's nothing I can do. It's completely beyond my control. And so I just need to stay out of the way, maybe hold somebody's hand if they need me to. So that's mostly what I suspect it's going to be like for me. And I hope there'll be something to keep me busy. Maybe you'll interview me or something as the other folks here on this call are doing the actual work of the launch, because it'll be completely out of my hands by then.
And you'll be packing for vacation, right, Thomas?
Going on vacation the 9th. I'm going to stick around at Blacksburg for a couple days because you never know, how long or short this launch process will take. And there's a tulip fest or tulip event, blockchain related event in San Francisco on the 8th that I'm apparently speaking at. It's either the 8th or the 9th. So after that's over with, I'm on vacation for about 2 weeks.
Cool.
There will be no internet on this vacation for at least portions of it. I am seriously unplugging.
Very good.
Cut off that Telegram for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Thomas, so I'm curious, what are your questions that you'd like to ask here as well? Anything we should cover?
Oh gosh, there's so much. Let's see. In terms of block producers in general, I'm curious how each of you view your responsibilities to the community. I know there's going to be some stuff's going to pop up where we're going to be like, oh wait, governance didn't cover this, and of course the block producers have their superpowers. With 15 votes, they can do kind of anything on the chain. And there's going to be some gap where it won't necessarily be obvious what to do. And I'm wondering how each of you, do you have a thought process? Do you have maybe a protocol you plan to go through? Do you have a document you've written in terms of what you'll consult or what values will guide you in the occasional murky days ahead when something pops up that it's not necessarily black and white obvious what to do? So maybe you can take it alphabetically. Kevin, if you'll call on each of them, I'll mute myself.
Sure. Yeah, Alex, what do you think on that?
There's so many things in that question, but so how I view the responsibility of us or a BP is, I think BPs are custodians of the network, and being custodians entails, I think, huge responsibilities because of the sheer value, of the whole ecosystem. And so that means high security, very good monitoring, technological solution. In the end, EOS is a blockchain, is a technical infrastructure. That's why I think a BP needs to be very well versed in all the tech things it's building, understand everything. So another thing I see is after launch, I'm sure maybe there's going to be a 0-day dropped on us, right? That means an exploit to some part of the code that has never been divulged, never been publicized anywhere. Someone has kept secret for a day like that, right? And so maybe that's going to come out and it's going to change, and we're going to need to change the code and hard fork very fast. Maybe, I don't know. So maybe we'll need to be reading any future commit to make sure that, we will compile this version or that version, and we can vet changes to the source code and then send them out and roll them out all in a synchronized way. We need to be very efficient because maybe at that point, some hackers are already, working to exploit that thing. So, and I see a very big responsibility, a technical responsibility to understand everything about the blockchain as block producers. Yeah, maybe that's one part of the answer there.
Sounds about right. I'm sure there's too much really to understand fully. Definitely. And looking at John, what are your thoughts on Thomas's question, the vision of Oracle Chain, and how you plan to overcome any obstacles that arise in the next month or two or beyond?
Okay. I think as and the BP, first of all, the BP is the writer of the blockchain below. So I think the first principle is BP must do the right thing. Then that means we, our org chain, will concentrate our task in the technology and the community. That means we will do a lot of things concrete to benefit the community. And the second, I think we should do more tests on the USIO, and maybe we can find the problem as soon as possible and solve it timely. So I think there are a lot of things to do before the launch. So we will work hard to do it as with the other BP candidates and the guide of the EOS Go or block.one. So that's all. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Yeah, and JT, how about you?
Yeah, I think besides the obvious is of producing blocks reliably, I think that not only do we have a responsibility to the network, the security of the network, and security of our systems that we're hosting, but also we are to act as ambassadors for EOS and the spreading of kind of the knowledge base and the ability that the EOS network has. 7 out of 10 of EOS.World's team members live in Puerto Rico, which has been ravaged by the hurricane with $90 billion in damage. And a lot of what we're trying to do is to not only rebuild Puerto Rico, but also be ambassadors for the entire network to the world. We've got boots on the ground in several different continents, and just working towards education and bringing people to the platform.
Nice. Yeah, and sounds like you're almost saying we should come together and make sure we look unified, especially to the outside world. We don't want to look foolish here as we try to launch, and
exactly
none of this infighting and stuff like that. Yeah, sounds good. And Sean, what are your thoughts there about about your vision, about how things should, about what your own team's vision in terms of overcoming any obstacles?
Okay. I think BPs need to provide not only reliable hardware to make the mainnet strong, but also we should share quality content to US holders. For example, we bring Meetup, and we bring some services like register and mapping service to EOS holders. And we also need to encourage more developers to join this project to make the ecology better. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. And Eugene, what are your thoughts?
Yes, thank you. So first of all, DEIP.World, it's a huge responsibility, right? And I see us more as servants. We are giving birth to systems that will be much bigger than all of us, right? And I see this exercise almost like going to a battle. And I mean, we can plan all we want, but will be unexpected, circumstances that we will have to improvise and deal with. And we can only win as a team, right? When we put our egos aside and we just like work together in making it happen. One of the ideas that I had was we need to obviously do drills before we go to battle, right? We need to, go over this exercise over and over again, test security, maybe even pit one team against another, find the most technically, people and make them bad actors, right? Not just test happy paths, but actually try to launch testnet while a bunch of guys are actively trying to hack it, and that will provide us valuable information, that we will not be able to discover until we launch, and hopefully close all holes that we can, discover. So that's my 2 cents.
It's interesting you say that. It's, I guess, part of what we're trying to decide here is how to best find the most secure block producers, or the ones who feel most comfortable or are the most qualified, rather, to launch the chain. And you're suggesting, putting teams against each other in a hackathon, a whole new definition for the word hackathon, I guess you could say. So that's an interesting thought. And Rob, what are your thoughts there?
I love what Eugene said about being servants, because I view the block producer role as an enormous privilege to serve a commons. So it's kind of like running for blockchain parliament, but you also have to have the technical competency on your team to actually do it. And so, things will always come up that we aren't expecting, and we have to be able to roll with it. The block producers should have secured communication channels. So probably maybe teams on Keybase would be a good place for the active BPs to be, kind of in a secure space where they can communicate through when stuff is happening that's sort of unexpected. And we're also setting policy, because all of the block producers that are voted in as active are publishing various, dynamic parameters. So we have to constantly evaluate that as well. So that's why it starts to feel sort of like a public office. And so it's a really interesting interdisciplinary sort of role where you have to be able to set policy, react and have like a value code. So, putting the good of the network, the good of, of all of the EOS holders above and beyond, like yourself. And there will be hard decisions, and I think a lot of them will have to be made on a sort of case by case basis to see, what's happening. And there will have to be a lot of thoughtful discussions when those things happen. So it's a very exciting thing to be a part of.
I think the next couple questions were about the challenges and the security risks that we may face here. Of course, Thomas, I would like to hear your thoughts on that. It'd be ideal. And hopefully we can just open the floor here and let you guys have kind of a freewheeling conversation about risks you see and security, what we need to plan for. And of course, one at a time, please, for speaking. But
Kev, can we give John a chance to answer the last question? I believe he didn't get it.
Oh, John from Oracle Chain?
Yeah.
I think he went second. I think he...
Oh, okay.
John, did I skip you? I'm sorry, John. Can you hear me okay? Maybe.
Okay.
You still there, John? Oh.
You said any questions to Thomas?
Yeah, so I think we'll go into... We already asked about your team's vision for overcoming any obstacles, the question that Thomas had, I believe. Just wanted to make sure that we didn't skip you.
Yeah.
No, he was second. You're correct.
Okay. Thomas, go ahead. Yeah.
I am wonderfully unqualified to even ask a question about computer security or network security. I do have some concerns about various forms of phishing and ways in which the block producers can be spoofed with, fake arbitrator orders, fake emergency freeze orders, things like that. And I'm wondering if you guys have yet had a chance to think about what your operations manual is going to be. Are you going to do, handle emergencies 24/7, or is there going to be some kind of rotating thing where there's at least 15 people on duty around the world? I mean, this gets really operational really fast, and I'm wondering what prep you've already done or what you foresee needing to be figured out between now and June 3rd.
And we'll go ahead and open it up for you guys to have a back and forth. So go ahead.
Maybe I can start there. So there's a few things. I'll let the other go. I'm always first. Go ahead, you guys.
He's handing off the baton. Who else wants it?
All right. As for ops, I mean, these have to be highly available, resilient systems that we're running. So we're going to need people on call. We're going to need alerts and health monitoring over our system so that we know when our nodes aren't healthy, and there's going to have to be some, very specific, like sort of chain of custody type of processes probably for executing an arbitrator order, for creating systems of multiple checks to make sure that everything is valid, and probably checking the order against the rest of the active BPs that are implementing said order to make sure everyone's matches, so someone isn't, as Thomas said, being phished. And so, yeah, there's probably going to need to be some special way that arbitrators or arbitration forums themselves sign an order, and we verify that it was signed by the forum cryptographically, so that someone, Joe Schmo, can't just socially engineer all the active block producers to get his evil arbitration order processed. So as for like the specifics, I haven't put a ton of thought into that, but it's definitely something that we'll need to consider.
Thank you.
Whoever wants it, go ahead.
I have a few points here. So what we're trying to do and what we're doing to, for after launch, we're working on some monitoring tools, because, there's going to be a lot of transaction going back and forth, and we can offer, it is our goal to offer a service so that people can register an email and an SMS for us or someone else to watch over their accounts. And if there's any transaction over a certain amount, right now there's no bridge between the people and the blockchain. The blockchain goes through the peer-to-peer network, right? And people are not listening on the peer-to-peer network on their phone, right? So we want to bridge that and offer people to be able to say, okay, I want to receive notification for that type of action over that amount. And so they could eventually come back to their wallet and cancel some accounts. So these are things we want to provide as a service. And there's also, you're talking about arbitration. I would really love to see the technical details of the implementation of arbitration, what needs to be signed where, what piece of packet arrives where, because, until then, it's very difficult to say, okay, this is the system we're going to build around it. This is the process we're going to build, because it's not even clear to me today, like, do I have an account name or don't I have an account name? Do I have an address? Like, is the address collected by someone I trust? Do I have a trust party? So eventually also maybe someone could register to some properties, and so we would KYC. We would check their identity, and then we would honor arbitration requests when they send them, because we need to verify that real people. Because when we're bringing, and that's an awesome feature of EOS, when we're bringing a few millennials, of people transacting together through contracts, that's the beauty of EOS, I think. Well, we need to have, similar processes as perhaps there was before, human processes where trust is established and is outside strictly code. That's one of the value proposition of EOS. So before we know the details, it's difficult to build the structure, although our team is very well connected with a few legal entities here in Montreal and around our startup ecosystem. We're folks from the startup scene in Montreal. And so we're going to have solid legal counsel and some people who have done either elections or other types of arbitration. There are people who know that, and also specialized blockchain teams that the law firms we're consulting with. And so hopefully we can be very fast at figuring out a way to bridge the tech side of it and the human side of it. And then you ask about what are we doing other than just producing blocks. We're working today on key ceremonies. Like if we want to secure our keys, we need to have processes. Those are human. And we have folks in our team that we're working at Intel Security, and that created the key ceremony documentation and process when we need to have some keys that are very secure with an HSM and have people who have certain parts of access, and in that situation they can unlock a certain key and do certain actions. So we're working on that, and we need that device before launch, because when the key ceremony is established, these keys are stored properly and the process is defined. That needs to happen before the first day. So that's my thought.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been working on in our in Group 1 is Mesh VPN for the key ceremony. I don't know what you guys have been discussing about security therein, but one of the other big concerns that we've had at the meetups and in the forums is DDoS attacks on day one. What are you guys doing to prepare for that?
So that's interesting since you mentioned it, because we're kind of having a similar view, and you guys have seen posts that we were working on regarding security. We'll look into establishing mesh pre-launch as well, using a VPN, peer-to-peer, basically, so all communication is secured between VPs. So we are looking into a similar solution. And just to trace back a little bit to Alexander's point on key management, we need to talk after, because I've been working for a few months now on a key management solution, which will be embedded into EOS Wallet, that will offer delegation of keys to a trusted party as well. So we can chat after. But yeah, so security is key. DDoS attacks are easiest to implement, right, on a server, and also probably hardest often to fence off. So we need to have right infrastructure in place to make sure it doesn't happen, right? It doesn't affect us.
I'm curious to know about that EOS wallet. Is it a wallet that's going to be integrated in the CLIOS? Is it a wallet you're separately building? What is that?
So we've been working on a web wallet, and we started a mobile wallet on iPhone. Thomas, I believe, had a glance of it. It's kind of
I got to see some of the screen mock-ups. They were very pretty. Yeah. On the other hand, my aesthetic senses are horrible, so you shouldn't take my praise as meaning anything.
But the idea is to basically to marry blockchain and PGP cryptography to securely encrypt and store private keys on a blockchain in a retrievable manner, and also use existing server key infrastructure for PGPs that existed for a decade now to delegate access to a trusted party. So that's I'll share with you a link, but that's just a cheat of, basically, here's the slogan. It's a last pass on blockchain, right? And we also extend it to any other blockchains, because EOS has a safety net built in when we can recover keys easily for EOS, but it doesn't exist for Bitcoin. It doesn't exist for Ethereum, for other crypto coins. If we expand that offer to other wallets, to be used, then we make we create an extra use case for EOS, right? We attract more users to the EOS platform. So that's basically a quick introduction.
Are you guys going to have some kind of hackathon on that wallet? Because that's one of the other concerns. Actually, we were talking with Thomas at the meetup in Austin a couple weeks ago, was just the lack of hackathons against EOS wallets, and just a lot of concerns about vulnerabilities there.
That's actually a great idea. We have been really spread thin in terms of resources, so we had to hire an offshore team to help us with development. But a hackathon would be a great way to get additional development bandwidths practically for free, right? So help to get community, to help. That I'm always open for that.
Is all that software being developed, Eugene, is it open source? Is it something we can share?
It will be open source, yes.
Okay.
It will be open source, yeah. The web wallet is already open source, and I can provide you Git repository, and it's actually very easy. It's ses.network. That's where you find all information and links to Git repos.
And let's jump over to we have John and Sean as well. We're talking about security and what we need to prepare for and how to do it. John, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, actually, I think the security of the EOS is beyond two aspects. The first is EOS I/O software mechanism. I think that is the more test of the EOS I/O itself. As we know, from the Dawn 1, Dawn 2, and Dawn 3, the the technique specific has changed a lot. So I think there are a lot of things need to do. The second is security of the BP node. Yeah, we must to defend on the DOS attack or DDoS attack because the EOS has there is a lot of value on it, as we will know. So I think we must do a lot of things. I mean the specific technical things such as flow cleaning, or other ways to solve it. And after all, I think there is another thing to do. So if possible, I think we maybe introduce some traditionally internet security company who is willing to invest their manpower and capital in the EOS field. Yes, and our chain are try to relate such kinds of companies. So when we have the final cooperation, maybe we can announce to the whole community. Yeah, thank you.
Very nice. Yeah, and Sean, what are your thoughts as well?
Okay. Our engineer team has provided some solutions for the risk. We would prepare API server for the users and the BP reboot plan when fell down, and we use the BP monitor to get updated information. For DDoS attack, our engineer suggested between the BP nodes, we use P2P connection with whitelist, and do not open HTTP port for BP, and the users only through the API server to visit the BP nodes. And from operation view, I think we should bring more, share more information to the EOS fans to let them get right information from the correct origin. Thanks.
For security, yeah. And we'll open the floor again if anyone has responses or would like to expand on points. Go ahead. Or Thomas, you have any further thoughts there, Thomas?
I have a question for the block producers. What is, for me, and you can be the same thing with each other. You don't have to be unique answers. If you say, yeah, me too, that's fine. But what are one or two things that you would like to get from block one between now and the launch to help you with the launch, or help you with, operational stability after? If there's something you're like, oh gosh, I really wish blank, or something along those lines, just take a minute, think of your answer, maybe write it down.
Yeah, I mean, mine right off the top of my head is just multi-node block producer ability. We're going to have independent point-to-point links between our data center locations to keep boxes in sync, but the software right now doesn't support multi-node, as far as I know. Maybe somebody's working on it, and I just haven't been privy to it. Maybe one of the other guys want to jump in on that. But
what do you mean multi-node?
The ability for us to be running the same block producer nodes with the same keys at disparate locations, and if we take one down, the other one automatically pick up.
Mm-hmm. I think.
Can I add? That's very important actually feature for backup and resilience of nodes. Let's say even if you have a server at a data center and something unexpected might happen, let's say the whole city loses power, including data center, right? We are thinking about having a backup node at a different geographical location, right? But all those features in terms of load balancing and starting up a second node as soon as we discover that the primary node goes down, that's kind of it's being built outside of EOS system, so to speak, right? So we are inventing it as we go, individual teams, and it would be good if we had one solution, so to speak, that we all follow.
Agreed.
So I agree. This is a high availability solution. I would like one of two things for that from block.one. If we could have a switch or an endpoint /v1 I don't know, something that it would make it either reload the configuration or disable the block production, right? Producer /on/off, I don't know what. So we could have a system that's external, observes the three nodes that are highly available, or the backups, and then activate one or the other. So my plan was to have that on 3 separate nodes and have a gator, like 3 gators here, 1, 2, and 3, and they talk with an etcd cluster, which decides which block can go through, or sees the traffic, and if this one is not responding, has not processed in time, 5,100 milliseconds after, then it shuts that one down and opens that one. Because our infrastructure is always going to be crashing. We're based on Kubernetes, and it's our principle to kill machines once a day, right? So we want to kill the machines, and it's the process so that we rehearse the process of bringing them back up. So maybe we'll schedule that chaos monkey not to be in the middle of one of our rounds, but we want to be rolling so we can test that thing flipping. So there's 2 things. Maybe if we could have an endpoint to start, stop, or have at least when we send a SIG-HUP, like a signal to the process, it reloads the configuration. Now it does only that for logging, which is pretty, it's fun, but it's not the most useful. So maybe just reloading the producer name would be sufficient, right? Reloading producer names or the private keys. And then, so that's would be on time. Otherwise, what we've been toying with, because we've been implementing a Go library, which implements the peer-to-peer protocol. So we're able to connect to the node through the peer-to-peer protocol, and for example, receive transactions as they come in before they're even included into a block. And as a side note, this is very useful for monitoring the network, right? Because we're a peer on the network, and we can see transactions flowing and compute if block producers are including them, and sort of rate the different block producers if they're doing their job properly. So, but that aside, it's very useful for us to see the blocks that would be coming from our 3 nodes, and then decide using a small etcd server again, let go through only 1 block. And then the other 2 nodes would then receive the irreversible block and say, oh, I've been fooled, right? I don't have the latest block. So they're going to undo their 2 blocks and then reapply and try again. There's a little overload in doing that because you need to process blocks and you're wasted. And also undoing and redoing might mean that it's not full capacity. So it's not ideal, but it would be a solution that we'd roll out if need be, right?
Interesting.
Thomas, did you write all that down?
No, I'm relying on the fact that we're recording this.
So sort of to JT's thing, statement earlier about being able to switch over nodes. I know in previous delegated proof of stake systems, the block producers could broadcast a new signing key. So then your cloud monitor, that's sort of separate from your data centers, could easily, constantly monitor the health of your nodes. And then if your primary node, someone trips over the power cord there, or the power goes out or whatever, your monitor will automatically detect that and publish a new signing key, which is configured at your backup location. And so in that way, you can rapidly switch over. I haven't played around with that quite yet in EOS. I've been doing a lot of other sort of orchestrational stuff insofar as our team, but I assume that hasn't gone away and that you can update your signing key, which would enable that ability to switch over fairly rapidly. Maybe not as clean as what you've described. As for my question for block.one, or what we really want, and I know Thomas is working really hard on this, but I guess I'll just say it to reemphasize it. I know that Thomas said last week, I think it was late last week, that the BP standby revenue model is sort of in flux right now. But That's going to be very helpful for our organization in planning and sort of, figuring out how we can spend the funds that we have to operate. So we're really looking forward to that.
And I'm looking forward to sharing it. I had a long talk with Dan on it Friday, and we talked again Monday, today. And I believe we'll be publishing the final, I would say unchangeable, but hard to change version in our upcoming code release, which I think might be this Friday. It's soon, and it should be final or close to final.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Thomas.
There's one other thing I'd like to have from block one, and I think Dan is already aware of that, is to have an out-of-process signing process. Like right now, the private key is inside the node EOS process that does the block production. But my concern is always like the VM, if there's any bug or 0 day with the VM and someone sends a transaction that is able to escape outside of the VM and therefore get inside the node EOS process and do remote code execution, that could spell out the end of EOS, because with one transaction being included in all of the block producer's memory, they could grab the private key from all the active block producers at the same time. So, from having an out of process would at least or calling a different server or at least a different process would allow, for a little bit of protection of that private key, which is very sensitive. It signs blocks, right?
Yeah, I know we've been talking about that. Thank you for mentioning that again.
Okay, guys, let's move on to the next question that we have. So we know that you guys have had some time to spend and get to know some of the other block producers in your randomized groups, which was initial set of groups that was randomized by EOS Go team members, Katie and Top K-pop, and they have put you guys into groups, and you're sort of getting to know each other and working together. Which teams do you guys see that you kind of have confidence in? You kind of go, okay, those guys got it going on. I learned something from those guys. We'll keep it open for this one, and you just answer. Go ahead.
So the teams that inspire confidence in me and have really shown leadership in the testnet scene. And this is not a complete list or anything, but EOS Sweden, so Eric, EOS 42, Charles, EOS Canada with the EOS BIOS, which has been a really clutch tool. EOS Tribe, I know Eugene has been working really hard with the Arrowhead testnet, and EOS DAC as well are some of the teams that I've looked to as far as technical competency goes. And I really thought BitSpace as well had an amazing block producer candidacy announcement recently, very well thought through. And EOS Asia as well has inspired a lot of confidence. So that's my list.
It's quite a list, Rob. Thanks for that.
I echo Rob on Sweden. I think a lot of people go to Eric for technical questions just because he's so active on Telegram, and I don't know that the guy ever sleeps because it always says "seen recently" on him.
So I've been working on that BIOS boot tool, and we've been put in small groups, and I haven't taken so much time to orchestrate things in the small group because my time has been swamped and consumed and trying to orchestrate something that works for the whole world. And so we've been running a few tests with different people who are not necessarily in the group, some in the group. And I would like to shout out to I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm so sorry, but Zhao Yu from EOS Leo Meo. He's been working a lot to help, he joined a limited session, he tried, he understood it, he ran it, and also he organized session with, to disseminate that knowledge he acquired with the Chinese community, and he translated the README into Chinese. And so, I'm super stoked at that. That's really helpful because it's difficult if we want to orchestrate. And I'm proposing a tool with that. It's not by any means the definite answer. I'm trying to advance things with EOS BIOS. I would welcome any contribution. I would like to shout out also to EOS Tribe and EOS Sweden, who did a great write-up today. They released that talking about the meshing network. That influenced my my design there. I think it's a great idea to mesh network before the launch. There's some constraints there to be put, but so shout out to you guys, Eugene. And I've seen great things also come from Oracle Chain. These guys have developed things like the Pocket EOS. Is that you guys, right? Like solid coding. There's folks also from Mithril Coin who developed a Java library using like all the unpacking all the low level stuff of, but they might not be running from like Block Producer. And the other guy I want to shout out is Paolo from Bitphoenix. He came also on the BIOS Boot channel and he listened in and discussed. He proposed he identified weaknesses in the things I was proposing and proposed that we go a little bit more distributed instead of, with that new discovery URL mechanism for everyone to sort of start voting publicly for BPs and creating a graph of the network. And so just today, I've been sort of rewriting big chunks of EOS BIOS to have it hold on top of IPFS. So it's going to be good for DDoS protection when we do launch. We're going to publish things through IPFS, so it's going to be very difficult to smash down. And it's going to be also a very easy way to publish in a unified way. Publish some data, for example, the contract, an updated snapshot, an updated boot sequence if we want to change the order of steps. So and also the discovery for the people. But that's it for my.
I have something to share with you because I think maybe it's harder to see which specific team is more competent or is more competitive. But I want to say that the team who can concentrate on doing something, whether it be technology or community, that team, I think he can give me more confidence. That means, as for us, Oracle Chain, we have built and released an open source tool named EOS Dev Helper to help the programmer to build the EOS wallet or exchange more easily. I think that's a contribution to the community. And I think maybe another two BP in China, that means EOS Gravity or EOS Cannon, they have do a lot of things in the community. So I think they also do a lot of things to the US community. So I think so technology or community. So if the BP can concentrate to do their jobs and maybe for a long time, so I thought, oh, it's okay. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Eugene.
Thank you. So first of all, number one for me is always Eric at EOS Sweden. We've been working together for several months. I always like to say that Eric was running testnets before it became cool, Then EOS 42, those guys are great. EOS Canada, you guys been doing a great job for community, automating the launch process. So it will be a big help. Careers, I think, is very strong, and I would like to mention also Crypto Alliance, guys based in Ukraine, very technical. They run probably the biggest jungle testnet. They've been finding bugs and fixing it. They've been working around the clock. Those guys are very technically savvy. I know that many good technical teams in Asia. I don't remember all the names, but I know, we have some strong BP candidates in Asia as well. So, yeah.
Okay, we also would like to mention some BPs like EOS Go and EOS Gravity. This is from opinion from our operation team. They think these two teams do a lot of organization work, and everybody knows them. Like EOS Gravity, they do a lot of promotion job in China. And our engineer team especially mentioned EOS Crypto Line because it provided a jungle testnet. They feel really this work is really great. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks, guys. And so we have probably about one more question here, and we have about 10 to 15 minutes more. So we're looking at next steps here. And of course, we're talking about the launch. We need the best possible community team of block producers. And you guys are the best candidates, of course. Or I mean, all the block producer candidates are the best people to decide who are the most technically proficient and ready to launch the chain in the most secure way possible. So in terms of what do you guys think? What should we do next to make sure that you guys are able to see all the block producer candidates, work with everybody, and determine who are the best top possible candidates to launch the chain?
I'll tell you what I'd like to see, if I may.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I want to see a multitude of test launches. I want to see a multitude of test cases where the launch is deliberately flawed. And I want to watch Alexander's code like crush those things. I want to see, partial launch, no pressure, dude. I want to see some partial launches with some, deliberate segmentation of the network to see how that happens. And just a lot of exercise of the code, a lot of exercise of the some of the processes that we know that the staff will have to do, because block producers do things that are not automated. We've got this human layer, this governance layer, and the block producers have a special role. I want to see that happening. And of course, I'd like to help facilitate that as an external person as much as I can.
I would like to copy that as well. I think it's time for drills. It's drills, drills, and drills again, to try to break it, to hack it, to whatever we can, just make it totally bulletproof, so we all have confidence by June 2nd. When we do it, it's not that we are doing it for the first time, but we are doing it for hundreds of times, right? And all those drills, they will show technical confidence of most teams and what we are all capable of, right? So that's the best way to discover, in my opinion.
If I may add, so what I see as the most challenging is we need to come into an agreement as to what we launch. We need to come into an agreement. What is the snapshot? What is the code of the different contracts, right? We need to come into an agreement on the chain ID eventually. And we need to find a way to do that very efficiently. To me, that's even a bigger challenge than running the node and making sure the node runs and like killing it and see how it handles the disk storage and whatnot. Because the day of the launch, what I imagine is that, look, the snapshot is going to be frozen. From that point on, it's going to be a challenge of we need to be fast, because we don't want other folks from the exterior world to say, we've launched the EOS net and join here, unless we're able to very fast tell them this is invalid because of that reason, you're not respecting this or that. Or we need to be the fastest and ship a network where everyone is together, all the strongest. And I think it's going to be like, that's why I devised the EOS BIOS orchestration and discovery mechanism as a way for BPs to publicly vouch for another BP, thereby creating a graph of like every BP participating to say, I think that BP is worth a 0 or a 1 or a 0.5 from 0 to 1. This way, everyone can deterministically have a list of BPs, and the topmost can start the chain. And there's no reward for that. Like, there's no real privilege. After that, votes will decide no matter what.
It's a big risk, actually, because if you fall on your face, everybody sees it. If you're like at second tier and you aren't doing the launch,
and you join,
you might have the same mistake in your stuff, but no one sees it.
Right.
We want at least T-shirts, at least 3 T-shirts that we,
3 what?
T-shirts.
He wants special launch shirts if he's a BIOS guy, or if he's
I have to do it. I at least have to.
I floated that idea once upon a time, and now apparently it's taken root.
I would prefer not being the BIOS boot node, but anyway, because it's a huge responsibility and it's going to be crushing. So yeah, I think that's the most challenging. But I don't know what the question was exactly, but that's my answer.
Yeah, mainly the question was just about what are the next steps? How do we determine these groups? How do we figure out, how does everybody work together to make that happen? What tools do we need? All those kind of things.
We need to congregate around one way to do it. Like what I've seen right now is different test nets with a few persons saying, okay, give me your information, I'm going to orchestrate it for you, and you join. But we can't do it this way on launch. It won't work. We can't have everyone do that sort of machinery. So that's why when I identified there was sort of a lack there, that's why I studied EOS BIOS. And I think we either need to find an alternative that's very good, even better. I'm sure it's possible to have something better than what I have, but and like time is short and our goal is still to launch the thing. So I encourage people to perhaps give it a shot and bring up some ideas. Like Eugene this morning, like he challenged a few assumptions there that are very bad from what I did, and we can better it together. But we might not have that much time to craft something totally new. And I would love other people to jump into the design, help with code, and if not code, just support, right? If it's, yeah.
So my point is, I think we can coordinate our efforts here, right? If we create, and if we do some pre-launch work, like we establish a secure mesh network with, secure VPN peer-to-peer connections, and we give people enough time to establish that mesh network. Then after that groundwork is done, which is somewhat manual, then your automated process, comes in picture, and that it will help on an actual go live date to bring it all to life. But if we do some preliminary work, we will be in a much better shape at the launch.
So maybe I can address that because it's a very important thing. I would love for us to come about and orchestrate a mesh, but for nodes to connect, might get a little technical here, but for nodes to connect together, they need to be on the same chain, even though that chain doesn't exist. They need to all have the same Genesis file. So, and the BIOS boot node is the one who's going to create that Genesis file. And it doesn't really make sense for that boot node to be elected because things can change. We haven't voted for the last snapshot or contract data. So, once we have all the snapshot data, then we can start the orchestration process. So really, there's a very short amount of time where we'll do that meshing. And if we do it automatically, deterministically with the tool, then it's all going to stick up together, paf, like very fast. It could take 5 minutes. And I think having VPNs in that will not necessarily help. If everyone starts giving each other an address to connect to, right, through secure channel or just like peer-to-peer or post it on Twitter, like all the BPs together in any case need to be able to sustain a DDoS after launch. Otherwise, the chain is dead, right? So everyone needs to have protection, and the distributed protection should hopefully allow for a living system. So if everyone starts meshing, at the moment the BIOS boot gives out that information, the BIOS boot has a few minutes to load the chain with a contract, inject the snapshot, and then so you'll have on the side there prepared a big network, and anyone could connect to the BIOS boot, or even better, the BIOS boot could connect to anyone and start pushing all the blocks. And at that point, all the people, everyone who's running the orchestration tool as a watch mode or a validating mode, will receive the blocks and start validating them and kill the network if it's not good, and we'll restart again.
So exactly, that's where my point is, right? The BIOS node, the EOS IO, doesn't even have to be exposed to...
Exactly, you have a great point there, and I'm going to refactor the thing.
You need a peer connection to a full node.
Exactly.
One of the PP. They can even run on the same machine or just like same subnet, basically. And you can establish that secure connection and just use it to just, basically just bring, just toggle BP, just, and start launch that testnet, not testnet, I'm sorry, real net, mainnet, and start block production, right? So the only caveat, we have to create Genesis before.
Yeah, and if it's automated, it's not pricey. If the program does it all and you've like wrote the thing to start a mesh network, once we have discovered the whole network and even everyone published their address, if they do that, what I'm imagining is that like people will keep their address secret, okay? And then they'll be in different channels, they'll start pasting their address to different places in a very specifically encoded way, just base64 JSON. And then you'll be grabbing them. So it's also very exciting because everyone who's establishing the mesh can do things. They're going to be active, copy and pasting, and then putting that in their process, and that will slowly build the mesh to whom they want to connect. And when they do join with the BIOS, the network is like already established. I think it's going to be exciting, more exciting from a social standpoint, right? if we have that established. But I think
is there a way to visualize this on a display as it grows? Because I want that on the live stream, because I want to know when I'm popping my champagne.
I don't have the time to code that. I hope
all right. Do it. I bet I will get NS James to do it in an afternoon.
You have a good hack.
If we can get those green dots on a map, right? Just like go to life, comes to life. You know,
it's a distributed process, though, so you don't have a central place to fetch that data, right? So you have, I think, the live streams of different people, and you can watch them do their thing.
Twitter feeds or something, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the discovery lists, the discovery file for each BP lists their social media properties. So maybe we could have a Twitter list of everyone in there, so you can see the flow of only the block producers and a few Telegram channels. Maybe we'll congregate around one place. And when we do practice, because we're going to use those things during practice, right? That's why we need to practice using the tool.
But Alexander, what's to keep multiple people from doing it at the same time? We're trying to boot multiple networks at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's many things for that. There's huge incentive to be part of the main net. You don't want to be on a small net that everyone ignores, right? And if you do that, you're provably not in sync with the rest, and maybe you're just not part of the big network. Because in the end, we need consensus. And the BP, we're competing, but we're competing for something that belongs to the community, right? So there will be maybe some attempts, people just trying to have a little network, but they won't have the visibility, because you know what? The strong players have great marketing, and they have a lot of influence, and that's part of being BP. So the other players, you want to be part of that network, right? Where you'll be, if you're not a strong player, you're going to be brought along with those folks. So I think it'll make up something that makes.
I agree. That's a community. That's a social structure, a community that we have built. That's a value. It's a blockchain that we launch. It's a layer on top of our community, which is big and worldwide. Whoever does it on a side, they don't have the platforms. They don't have that community to support it.
Now, they may do that as a phishing attempt. They may launch a fake snapshot and some fake BPs and try to get people to put in their private keys.
Yeah, and also people might want to hack the snapshot and insert a few rows there. So the critical thing is, how do we agree on
I've got
snapshot?
1 million EOS. Look at that.
Right, it's just a line. We need to agree on that. So that's why I want the EOS BIOS to have a diff tool. So if someone comes in and you see, you're navigating the graph and you're discovering everyone's proposal, and they just changed the hash they're proposing for a snapshot, well, you could say, what's the delta? What's the diff between what he is proposing before and now, or between what I'm proposing myself and them? Right? It's very important. See, for the contract, for the boot sequence, we need the diff. It's going to be very fast paced at that day, and we don't want to screw that. Right?
Well, and before we go, let's make sure we get around the horn on the final question here. This has been a phenomenal discussion, I must say. It's kind of what we were hoping for, really, just to hear everybody sort of spitball and see what happens. So the last question, of course, was just about, what do you guys see for next steps? How does this work for the next month or so? How do we get together? And I know Rob and Sean and John, what do you guys, and JT as well, what do you guys have to say about that?
Sure. So my answer to this question was sort of addressed by Alex as well. It's coming to a consensus on the standards that we adopt to get everyone that wants to be on the main net in the same place. So, getting everyone in agreement that, for example, EOS BIOS is a good tool. And also having, hashing it out that, that tool could be improved in certain ways, like Eugene has suggested with Eric, and Paulo, as someone mentioned earlier from Bitfinex, also made suggestions. So the hard question is coordination, or the hard problem to solve is coordination. How do we make sure all the BP candidates on every continent are on board and all in agreement on the process to take to launch it? And that's the hardest thing to do, I think. But I feel like there's good steps being taken in the right direction. And it really helps to have these neutral parties like EOS Go and CoreOS, and I think IMEOS is the other one that are sort of helping to coordinate their more geographic regions and sort of working together. So it looks like things are converging in the right way, but to me that's like the difficult problem to solve.
So I would love two things. For example, if there's any other tool that satisfied the challenges of a launch, I would love to know as fast as possible. For two reasons. I don't want to lose my time building that if there's a better solution. And I really just want a successful launch. So if there's other things, like please tell me. And then if there's no other things, please disseminate that information. We have just a few weeks to synchronize on that. I think and I'll try to communicate as much as I can, like how we do that, what's the structure. I think it's a pretty fair system when people have autonomy to deploy their own BP information and their own way to vote on IPFS. It's really fair, and the program is just there to orchestrate that. But so like try it, and then not to please me, but just to have a successful launch.
I was playing with it last weekend, and it works great. It's a great tool. And yeah, I'm hoping that we can get the rest of the community's buy-in to use it.
I think we're on the same page here. We all want a successful launch. Right now is the time to just quickly flesh out ideas, quickly come to a consensus, and whatever community decides, whichever way we choose to launch, we are fully on board with that solution, right? But we just have to quickly flesh out a few ideas, make sure that it's the most secure way, and we don't leave any doors open.
At the same time, I just have limited time, right? So I can't do everything. It's an open source project, and I feel the pressure. Let me tell you, I feel the pressure already, and I would love help. And if it might not be the perfect solution in the end, right? It will not be perfect. Like I have 5 kids, one coming in. I have to sleep sometime, and I need so.
I don't know how you do it. I have to. I don't know how you do it with 5.
And before we leave, let's make sure we hear from John from Oracle Chain as well about the next steps. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think because we only have 1 month time, to prepare the EOS launch. So I think the most important thing is to do more preparations. Yeah, I think we'd better to make some more emergency plans. So when something happens, we have the plans to solve problem or to face it. And I think we will need to more pre-launch exercise. There are 3 groups to prepare to the launch procedure, but I think the progress is slow because I'm in group 2, but I don't see there are some specific things to prepare the pre-launch work. So I think we have 1 month later, and we must do something specific to make sure the EOS launch can successfully be done. Okay, we still need a lot of things to do.
Sean, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Our engineer team raised some suggestions that it's better that block.one can provide official register service and voting system because now it has not been provided, and maybe some BPs provided the registry service. And our engineer team also want the ability to reboot from snapshot quickly rather than resign from the Genesis block. Okay, and from our operation aspect, I think it's that we could know earlier about Constitution number 0, like the inflation plan, how the 5% is allocated, and yeah, it's better for us to do the financial model. This is also important, I think.
And JT, what are your thoughts there? We haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
Actually, can I interrupt? I wanted to get Sean. Can you tell me? You said you wanted registration and voting. Is that pre-launch, registering candidates, or post-launch to register and vote for block producers? I wasn't following you.
Okay. I mean now the users, including me, I'm not quite sure the voting interface what it's like.
Oh, what it's going to look like. Okay.
Yeah, look like, and there is no official there's no official website to do it. So maybe it's better that block.one can provide an official one, so that users would not confuse
I have 2 or 3 comments. So you're talking about post-launch, and when people want to register themselves as block producers on the active chain, and when voters want to come and vote on block producers on an active chain. You have probably heard a few times that block.one is not going to be launching a chain. The community will launch or not launch. Yes. So you are not going to get any official support from block.one. We write software. That's all we do. Now, we are going to have a command line, an easy way at the command line to vote, an easy way at the command line to register a block producer and add data to their registry. The calls are reg producer and vote producer in the system contract, actually out there right now. And I've been talking to some folks in the community who are working on a web-based interface to make it easier to vote and ways that might work. So I am optimistic. I think, well, the entire EOS community is optimistic, so a big surprise. I'm optimistic that there will be maybe a web-based voting interface provided by the community before June 1st.
And as James just commented in the chat saying Eric is producing a registration contract.
Sweet.
What is that? A registration contract?
A producer registration contract.
And what does that do?
We'll have to get more information from Eric.
Tune in next week.
Eric have been working on EOS portal idea for some time. I have reviewed his white paper, so I know there is some work.
And JT, before we go, let's hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think that getting this thing off the ground is. I think the EOS BIOS is a fantastic tool. I've been messing around with it myself. I am more on the admin side than I am on the developer side. We've got a team of developers that I work with closely. So they would probably be jumping at the opportunity to talk right now. But just personally, I think that if we can. I hate to say that picking block producer candidates at random is the best idea, but it seems like it might be the best idea just so that there's not a fight. And we all know that, the people that start the network are probably going to be voted out in the first 126 seconds. Or maybe not all of them, but maybe, who knows how many might be voted out. But
there's not any first mover advantage that I'm aware of.
Right, exactly. So that's why I think that picking at random might be best. Just saying, okay, this
picking at random from a population of folks who have proven their competence at launching.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
That's why the current algorithm reverse orders according to how people voted. It's a consensus mechanism. It looks like hash graph actually, but so people vote and it's reverse order with the total weight of people who voted. So this way, at least the topmost, it could be slightly randomized, but we're more certain that they're not going to screw a launch. If someone joins
assuming that people's weightings are accurate, and of course these are block producers assessing other block producers.
Yeah, but what do we have better?
The game that there's zero incentive. It's like you're saying, who do you want to go to war with? You're not going to pick a clown. You're just not.
Well, this has been a great panel discussion, guys. It's the first one we've done, and I think it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah,
I know
that. Did as well. Me too.
Yeah.
Same thing.
This is great. Any final thoughts, Thomas? I'll let you take it away there.
Hey, I wanted to say thank you to John and Sean. This is my first chance to talk to both of you. I am very honored to have met you. I hope that we will connect on Telegram and LinkedIn very soon. I'm already in connection with everybody else on this chat, but not with the two of you. So that I'm very pleased to have met you both. And honored as always to get airtime on EOS Go. Thank you, Blue Jays and Kev, for your incredible service to our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe I can make a preview here. Or Chen will open source another 2 or 3 tools in the EOS environment. Yeah, we can make some tools. We have released and open source the EOS dev helper, but we still have another 2 or 3 tools. Yeah, for more. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot, guys, and thank you for coming on. And yeah, have a good rest of your night, of course.
I have one more final thing, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
So I'm working with David P. from EOS 42. We were brought in on the Tulip Conf that Thomas mentioned earlier, conference, which is happening the second week of June, so shortly after launch. But there's going to be a block producer summit. So if you're interested at all in sending a representative from your team, please contact me on Telegram and we can go from there. We'd love to have more representation from block producers.
I'm a speaker at that conference as well, so I will be.
Yep, Eugene's going to be there too. EOS Tribe will be represented. We just want to make sure to get the word out there, so that there's more opportunity for block producers.
I will be there on one of those days.
When is that?
Where is it going to be?
It's in San Francisco. If you go to tulipconf.com, you can read more about it. One of the events is a block producer summit for EOS block producers. So, yep, just want to get the word out there. And if anyone wants to get more info on that, David P. is sort of the lead guy on it. And I'm meeting with him later this week to get more information about what he's thinking. But we want to definitely have, a fair opportunity for block producers everywhere to come and hang out and discuss best practices and all of that. So, get in touch with me on Telegram at Rodrigo or rob@eosdetroit.com. You can email me there too, and we can talk more.
Nice.
There you go. Thomas has just shared the screen.
Yeah.
What are the actual days for the block producer summit? Did you say?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's going to be either on the 7th or the 8th. We haven't actually nailed down the exact agenda of the conference yet. It's still in flux. So it's going to be one of those 2 days. And then there's going to be a 3-day dev workshop as well for specifically EOS. And that'll be the following week. But let me know if you're interested at all. We'll talk about it offline. Just wanted to make sure everyone had a fair chance and opportunity to know about it and get involved.
Hopefully it's a celebration party and the chain's already launched by then.
Yeah, I think it could very well be.
Yeah.
Thomas, we don't recognize you anymore. You need to change that picture. Good deal.
Thanks,
well, thank you guys. Yep, this has been great.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, EOS Go,
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Okay.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, welcome to channel. Yeah, if you
We will.
there is any chance opportunity. Yeah.
Sure.
We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye. Wow, Blue Jays, that was very good. That was excellent. And if you guys and John and Sean, there you go. You can hit leave meeting, and we'll finish up our final thoughts of the week.
Yeah.
Because we're going to jump over to the news here. We have a few topics we should cover.
Yeah. Well, what were your thoughts about that, Kev? I think it was just probably like you said there at the end. It was just over and above your expectations, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, too many thoughts, really. Those are my thoughts. I was taking notes actually during part of it. It's just a lot to learn. I think obviously it's very hard when you have a worldwide community and we have to all go onto the same page, right? That's what we're attempting to do that here and through a multitude of different ways. As you heard, everybody has been testing together and working together. However, will they all come together? That's the big question. And I guess we're going to find out more.
Yeah, they will come together, I think, in my eye. And like everyone said, it sounds like they need to work together. They have to work together. And I think putting, their teams aside and looking to other teams to help them is going to be something that they'll probably have to do to some of them talked about not having bandwidth to do certain things. So they'll have to come together to find ways to do things.
Yeah, it's totally true. I think everyone is a little bit stretched thin during the launch, leading up to the launch, because there's so much to do and so many tests to run and software to finish and everything else you heard about it. But and like Alex said, I think it was Alex, he mentioned that block producers want to be on the main chain, the one that is going to become EOS. They would like to be on that chain because if they're not, they look like they are I don't want to make an analogy that sounds bad, but they're like the kid that's sitting off on the corner at the school lunch table, right? The kid who's not welcome to. So you want to be in the popular kids group is all I'm trying to say about the EOS launch. And that way you guarantee that you're able to be voted in quickly if you want that after it is actually launched. And that you're on the same team. Everybody wants to be on the same team. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll come together.
And your thoughts, Kevin, is that the strong teams, the strong BPs will stick to one team, or will be all at the one basketball court, right?
I think we'll see the strong ones. They'll be dunking the ball, they'll be shooting threes, no look, jump shots, that kind of stuff. Yeah, easy, no problem. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it will be pretty significant attacks. I mean, you heard them mention some of the DDoS attacks they're expecting, and I'm sure we'll learn more. They're going to hack each other. Hopefully that'll be interesting and fun to watch. Learn who feels the most confident about launching the chain, who is good at hacking. We should have brought Teo in there as well.
Right.
He tested those guys out, so it's been a good show. I'm really enjoying this. It's excellent. Let's move to the news. You ready?
Yeah, let me just click news section here. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, so most of the news here is pretty much brand new. So Dan put out a Medium article pretty much right as we went live. You may not have even seen this yet. I barely did. He debunked the claimed vulnerabilities. Someone went ahead and published an article about the supposed vulnerabilities in EOS IO that they found. And actually, I have not looked too far into this, so we're going to learn together here. What do you know about this?
I actually read it a little bit. I like the last part of it where he says we're going to have more reviewers in the community reviewing vulnerability. Hey, John.
Hi, John. Welcome back.
No, I just said so everyone say goodbye, but you are still here, so I don't know if the panel is over.
Oh yeah, the panel's over. We're just doing the news now, John.
Okay, okay. So bye bye.
Bye.
All right.
See you later.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Go ahead there, Blue Jays. You were talking about the review system for the community.
Well, yeah. So Dan at the end of that article basically says there was this vulnerability reported in EOS IO, and it was total. It was not a viable vulnerability. It was not valid at all, and we need the type of technical chops and the type of reviewers to be able to debunk these type of things. And it's something that Dan had to put out himself, but probably would like to see others in the community debunk these various charges, I guess you would say.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, open source software in general, obviously the benefits are numerous because everybody can see the software and they can look through it and they can figure out their own vulnerabilities. Dan, he kind of called them out a little bit, irresponsible reporting.
Yep.
So, it makes sense. I mean, it was kind of an attack, and we're seeing more of this kind of stuff, unfortunately, on EOS. It's a common thing in cryptocurrency where projects, or who knows what's going on exactly. I'm not going to get into it, but...
And you have to wonder, was this intentional to report this type of vulnerability? And that's why we try and be as neutral as possible, and we see a benefit for having a neutral representation of information. and that's what EOS Go is all about.
Yeah, we forgot to mention we always try to mention EOS Go because not everybody's familiar, but we're just a neutral organization. We put neutrality first in terms of just reporting and being a community hub for everybody, especially in an elected representative democracy or commonwealth, which is what this essentially is, a digital commonwealth. You need that neutral, strong, independent source of media and information. So that's what we do, and we do love it. And so let's go over to something calming. You ready? It's the calming video showing Brendan and two members of the creative team describing the story of the EOS.io brand. And that came out, I think, today as well, where it was an unlisted video. And they just talked about the chestahedron, it's the sacred geometry of the heart, Fibonacci sequence that they used in the background, which indicates, I think it's the golden ratio. It's found all throughout nature. What did you take? Did you watch the video there, Blue Jays?
I did. I watched it a couple times because I was wondering where they were talking. He went from the chestahedron, which is the shape of the heart when you pull back all the muscle layers, and how they decided to use the Fibonacci sequence, which everyone sees in the universe. It's patterns all over that come and show itself in the universe everywhere. So I was chatting with Steve Floyd on the marketing channel, and we were trying to see where in EOS marketing they were talking about or that they had represented the Fibonacci sequence, and we couldn't find too many spots. But I sort of figured that maybe that marketing will be coming up for launch. Maybe we'll see more of it incorporated there.
Yeah, I think there's a very, very faint pattern in the background of the EOS.io website as well. You can barely see it, but it's a Fibonacci swirl. And I think he even commented that it's not an actual ratio. He measured on his monitor and found out it wasn't an actual ratio. So, they'll probably fix that. The block.one, they're very thorough about everything they do, it seems. So maybe they'll take notice of that. Because as we've always said, Dan watches this show every single moment he's on, just watching every minute.
Yeah. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Dan. Good to see you again. Let's go to... so this is a funny story, and it goes back to the EOS price, unfortunately. But basically, EOS is valued higher than SpaceX, despite not launching mainnet. And that is a story from newsbitcoin.com, newsbtc.com. And, they just talk about... Everybody gets into this about how cryptocurrency valuations are way over the top and this and that. I guess some of it's true, perhaps. We're still in beta, and it's worth quite a lot of money, but people see a lot of value in it. And as Thomas said earlier on the BP panel, he's like, hey, everybody here is optimistic, right? We see big things for EOS. So what were your thoughts on being more valuable than SpaceX, despite being in beta there, Blue Jays?
Well, I mean, first off, I don't really want to talk too much about cryptocurrency prices and stuff, but I would think the business model is totally different. How profitable is SpaceX? What kind of profit do they have? How scalable was it? In terms of scalable, we're not having launches for rockets every day. It's not like we can scale it up to daily visits to the moon. Whereas with EOS, you can scale applications on the blockchain. So scalability is a lot different. One's a rocket to the moon, literally a rocket to the moon, and the other is a token that could possibly go to the moon as well. Kev, what's going on, dude?
I love this roundabout point you're making about the moon. It's great.
Yes.
What about the lunar charts? I've seen Dan post lunar charts recently in EOS Price Channel of all places. When is the moon going up again? What are your thoughts? I think it said April 27th, the most recent one we just had.
I'd have to get an app out to figure that stuff out. I don't know when the moon's coming out. We should probably post it on EOS Telegram channel, and we'll probably find out soon.
Seems like EOS Price, they spend the most time. They really love looking at the craters. I wonder if they all have telescopes and they just stare at the moon all the time. They just talk about it so much. I can't fully tell what they're talking about, really. So anyway, let's move forward to, talking about Dan and his chats. He actually spent a lot of time at EOS Price over the weekend. And he started off kind of joking around, but he actually made some pretty interesting points. I just sort of pulled this up here. I'll share it with everybody. So he started joking about, Ada. He was making fun of some GIFs that were on there. Some guy was dancing, and Dan wanted to know about the ending. And then he went into banks and how basically banks. So he's talking about the loan system and how banks take the money and they're sort of taking some of the profit away before giving the trickle down economy type of thing, where banks are taking some of the money before handing it to the next level in the economy. And then he was describing how the banking fraud is very simple. They borrow short and they lend long, and they lend assets that they don't have the right to as well. And he's talked about the FDIC as well. This was all in the EOS price channel of all places. Yeah, probably the most intellectual discussion they've ever seen in the EOS price. But anyway, so it was interesting seeing him in there. And of course, though the Dan message only bot does not broadcast those messages from EOS price.
Interesting.
So every once in a while, he does say interesting things in there. Kind of a short news week. Until today, we didn't have a whole lot. But then the story of the EOS.io design came out, and Dan's rebuttal also as well to the vulnerabilities in the code that came out as well. So I think you said it well last week too. Everybody has their head down, right? They're just coding. They have, I think it's Friday. Thomas was right about May 4th. They have their next release candidate coming out. I think release candidate 2.
Yeah.
The
Star Wars Day. Yeah.
Star Wars Day. Yeah. May the source be with you, as Dan said. So yeah, and also looks like Thomas is in Blacksburg again this week. We can see from his beautiful hotel room that he sits in there.
Oh yeah. So we got some meetups, I guess, coming up soon.
Meetups. Here we go. So yeah, what do you have there, Blue Jays?
I see one Montreal for May 7th. I'm not 100% sure that's not one of the ones that Thomas Cox is going to be at, but there's one for May 7th in Montreal.
Yeah, actually, the one in Montreal is interesting. It's called Blockchain EOS and Go. That's not EOS Go. That's EOS and Go. And they're talking about the Go programming language, excuse me. And actually, Alex mentioned it very briefly. He's EOS Canada. He's in Montreal.
Yeah.
And they're the ones putting on this meetup. And basically, they talk about EOS as a third-generation blockchain launching 1st or 2nd of June 2018. And the Golang meetup is dedicated to EOS. So they're just going to talk about it's a very developer-focused meetup, obviously. So if you're in Montreal and you're a developer, check it out. It's up on it's on our block producer portal /meetup portal. If you want to go find that, or also you can go to meetups.com or meetup.com, I should say, /EOS, and you can look at all the EOS meetups as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kev, they actually have one. So I guess tomorrow is May 1st. Tomorrow's May 1st. Wow. There is a meetup in London put on by EOS 42, the EOS 42 block producer candidate, David P., where they're going to have some special guest speakers. The CTO of Bitfinex is going to be there, Paolo Ardeno, Dominic Thomas, CEO of Warbly, Dallas Johnston, CEO of Credify, Larry Ma, CEO of EOS Canon, as well as some speakers, EOS 42, EOS DAC, EOS Dublin, EOS Sweden, BitSpace, and video intros from EOS Gravity, EOS Sys, and Oracle Chain. So it looks to be quite an event, and I wish them luck. And yeah, they're across the pond, and they're probably going to be getting up very soon to have this event.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm looking at the website, 350 people going. That's
Wow.
one of the bigger meetups we've seen. I think Tyler said it really well earlier. It's not a meetup at that point. It's just a big old party. It's an event. So I think this looks like it's going to be one of the largest meetups that we've seen in EOS. A lot of block producer candidates are going there. It almost sounds like a mini block producer summit in some ways. All those names you just listed off, I recognize them all.
Yeah.
All of them hanging out there. And so it's kind of good, though, because you have community members that get to meet the block producers in person, get to shake their hands, look them in the eye, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's something we kind of take for granted here, but it's very important when you're trying to just understand who people are and what drives them and why they want to be your block producer. As a sort of as a garbage man of EOS, as Thomas once put it. No, I'm just kidding. I put those words in his mouth. That wasn't, he didn't say.
Yeah. We got somebody on chat. So we got Danique from EOS Nation, who have reported that they have an EOS developer meetup in Ottawa on May 9th. And it is organized by EOS Nation. He just added it to the EOS Go BP portal. So thanks for that, Danique. I hope you guys have a great event. Looks like it's going to be coming up in 9 days from now. So, Kevin, there's another one from Koreos. They're going to be having one May 19th, EOSIS, and May 26th in EOS Seoul. I guess they're having meetups in Korea.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, it looks like Korea is really starting to pick up. We've seen a few more block producer candidates coming or showing up from Korea. And we actually had some questions as to why there aren't more. popping up from Korea, because we see so many from China and from the US and other places. But it's starting to really, the competition is looking pretty good. And also EOS Nation, they have another one. They have a booth and speaking at the Salon de la Crypto in Montreal on May 12th. And Saeed also talked about the EOS Information Night on May 7th in Calgary. Thank you guys for putting this in here. Really, it helps us a lot.
And as you said, Saeed, just continue to add any meetups you have in the BP portal. That's amazing. That's where we get our information from. So thanks for that. And you guys have an awesome time at your meetups. I wish you could be there.
Yeah, I agree. And the final one I know of is Mumbai, India, of all places. They're having an EOS meetup, and it looks like they're still growing, but it should be awesome. And let's see what day that is. Their upcoming meetup. I just had it pulled up, but it looks like maybe it's, anyway, not coming. Oh, it's May 19th. Excuse me.
Okay.
May 19th is their next meetup. Yeah, so they're going to discussion on latest trends in blockchain. I guess it's not specifically an EOS meetup, but it is listed under the EOS tag on meetup.com. So, and that's another country I've wondered about. Where all the, it's a huge country. They have a lot of talent over in India, and I'm looking forward to seeing more block producer candidates and developers. And we've actually spoken to a couple of developers from over there who are building a Dapp. So hopefully we'll learn more about that soon. Any more meetups that you know of there, Blue Jays?
No, I guess we, in that time range, we just also need to again mention the Tulip conference. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's at tulipconf.com. Thomas screenshotted it, so I don't need to say much more about it. And it looks like a pretty cool event.
I would say that's the first sort of EOS summit. It sounds like, from all the people who are going, all the folks that we see very regularly in the community are all going to be converging there, including David Moss and Thomas Cox. Both of them are speaking, it looks like. So that
begs the question, Kevin. I know similar large blockchain communities have these conferences. I guess we're going to have to come together as a community and have one big one as well too. So that would be kind of exciting to see in the years to come.
Yeah, and it should hopefully be on neutral territory. So I'm always rooting for Antarctica. We should all meet up down there and, bring your parkas, and at least, penguins are also pretty fun to hang out with. So it should be good.
Antarctica, how is it neutral? Doesn't that belong to Canada? I should know.
The only reason I say that is that nobody's down there. I mean, we don't see any block producer candidates from Antarctica for some reason, even though we're supposed to have global distribution and everything else. So it's no. Anyway, moving forward. So let's finish up here. What are the final thoughts of the week there, Blue Jays?
I just love that BP panel discussion. It just, when you hear them talking about code and what gets updated and how things can be vulnerable, it's just really exciting. And I know these guys have been heads down doing their thing. I mean, we don't have much visibility into what they're doing behind the scenes, but we know they're doing stuff, and and this past panel was just a glimpse into being a fly on the wall of what all of the stuff that they're doing right now. And it's just leading up to this amazing event that's going to come up at the end of this month. And we're pretty much May, so at the end of this month. And I guess I was chatting with you a little bit, Kevin. I'm like, the launch has started, so I think things are definitely happening, and these drills are just, they're awesome. So
what are your thoughts when it comes to the next BP panel? What are we looking at? Do we have another one of those coming up the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I believe K-Pop said that we have another with them scheduled for next. What do you think? We had I guess we'll talk offline, but we had a couple segments booked next week, but we might just try and see if we can reschedule in order to facilitate this discussion, because I think it's of paramount importance at this time.
Yeah, we have been moving things around just to make sure we're able to fit all the needs. In terms of, you notice, of course, that we replaced the Q&A for now with the block producer panel, and also interviews we're sort of shifting around as well, just to make sure everybody gets in. We're pretty much fully booked at this point, it looks like, all the way through launch. So if you didn't make it in, hopefully as a block producer, you can get onto one of the panels. Just reach out to Top K-Pop and get onto the list there. It's first come, first serve. So get onto that list.
And we did have EOS Nairobi scheduled for today originally, and it's a pre-recorded, and we'll probably have that next week then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked to them. We had to pre-record because it's late for them, but it was just a phenomenal interview. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait. I really cannot wait for you guys to see it because I just EOS means a lot. It means a lot to a lot of us, but especially in Kenya, I think it'll make a dramatic impact on their lives, and they talked about that. So, looking forward to hearing from them. Final thoughts of the week for myself. I mean, I'm just looking forward to the launch. Of course, we're going to continue that series, what the launch may look like, just short videos for the community, really targeted more to the average community member. These shows are they're very in depth for a lot of folks, and of course they're very long. We've heard some feedback about that as well. There's so much to fit in, of course. So we're just doing some very short videos to help everybody stay updated as to what's going on. So if you have any information that we don't know about, that we're not familiar with, or that we should know about, please let us know so we can let the community know as a whole, and we can help bring this whole thing together. I mean, it's a community-wide coalescence, I guess you could say. We're coming together.
We're gelling.
One of the most. We're gelling.
Yeah.
We're keeping it cool. Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're gelling and we're keeping it cool.
Well, so yeah, as always, follow the Twitter and all that stuff. Subscribe if you want notifications for the show when it goes live, and of course for the other videos we put out. What else do folks need to know there, Blue Jays?
Yeah, keep up to date with our Twitter and our community updates, and the forums have been pretty busy lately. So just get out to the forums at forums.eosgo.io and have an interaction out there. Go EOS. I think I'm good for today.
Yep, go EOS. Last note on the forums: if you are one of the folks who loves these shows, you will enjoy the forums discussions. They're very in depth. They're kind of for the more serious EOS fans. So if you like that kind of stuff, go hit up the forums.eosgo.io. Thanks, guys. Thanks as always, and go EOS.
Thanks, everyone. Go EOS.